And hello and welcome everyone to the comic multiverse where the worlds of nerd meet. As always, I am your host Joel, and joining me is my co-host, my partner in comic book podcasting crime. It's Matt, everybody.
It's Matt. How you going, Joel? I see you've got something new on your face.
Yes. It's the beard. I'm growing it differently now. No, I finally finished the worst anime arc in comic multiverse history. I finally got my glasses that I had talked about forever and ever. And yeah, my eyes don't hurt anymore, and I can see things far away.
So, speaking of anime, you can do that anime thing that like the edgy guys that have the glasses use. Yeah, and you can like push the glasses up and have that like reflection on them and.
I'm still working on it. As you can see, you can actually see my screen reflected in the lenses. I'm still not quite sure how that works. And here's another thing that totally fucked me up, because obviously we all have to wear masks now as to not spread the horrible, deadly sickness that is out there. I end up steaming them up when I'm trying to walk around. Then I'm like, fuck.
I do that when I blow my nose as well. I'll like blow my nose and come back and it'll be all foggy.
There's so many rules of glasses that I'm still just now learning, and it's a hell of a thing.
And you're probably going to have to be taking them in every couple of months to get the screws in the side tightened, because when I take mine off, it like the thing that goes over your ear sort of falls down because it loosens up because it fits your head. So you got to because you just got to tighten the little screws up in the corner every now and then.
Oh, well, thank you for the heads up. I was lucky I got two pairs for the price of one, so I got one in blue and one in black. But crap, so much about upkeep I'm not aware of yet. Oh, wow. How was your week, Matt?
Yeah, no, pretty good playing more Avengers, grinding out
Likewise.
Towards that level 50.
Is that the cap now? I'm just about to finish the story mode. I haven't been able to devote as much time to it as I wanted. I'm like on the final mission or the penultimate mission. I got to get the Stark Tech armor that everyone hated so much in the trailers, not knowing that there was alternates.
They hated it so much in the trailers, but now that it's out, everyone's like, oh, they're actually really quite cool suits.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, game continues to be good. Lots of bugs, though, which they need to fix. And as I said on my stream earlier on today, they're like bugs that like you would have thought they would have fixed. Like they're very obvious ones.
Yeah.
But you're like, how did no one like notice that when they were playing like QAing it and stuff?
Yeah, I'm still having fun with it, but yeah, it's the little things they get wrong where it's like, well, how did you get all the other stuff right? And how did you license all this great music, but you fucked up on this part?
Yeah, it's very strange. It's very strange.
Definitely. What is it? My Hulk got stuck up at one point and just couldn't move until he eventually got knocked out of it by enemies. That was a problem.
Yeah, no, I've had that a couple of times with characters where they just stay stationary for long periods of time.
I've had no visual bugs, I'm happy to say, so it's been nothing too catastrophic. I had the problem where characters were talking and their mouths weren't moving, and I'm like, ooh, that's unfortunate. Again, all them little things. But, yeah, overall, still pretty cool. We haven't had a chance to play together yet, but we should. I know Tiff over on Comic Pop, she's playing it and streaming it too. I don't know what system she's playing it on, but we should try and get a bunch of comic book YouTubers together to play it.
We should get 4 people, like us two and 2 other people, to fill out the strike team.
Absolutely. What is it? Ooh, I've played it long enough now that I finally got what you were saying. Yeah, it's not fun to fly around as Iron Man.
Yeah, it's very slow. There is a boost option. I got the boost option, but it's again the boost option is like it's because it uses that intrinsic thing. It's very quick, so you press the boost button and it's over with almost immediately.
I feel kind of like drunk Tony Stark. Maybe I'm just bad at steering. In truth, I'm bad at steering Thor too, though I do genuinely like the idea that Thor doesn't fly right away, that he needs to actively swing his hammer, much like he does in the comics and movies.
Yeah, I find between Thor and Captain America, they're my 2 favorite characters.
They're pretty fun. I actually quite enjoy Black Widow. I love being able to just bust caps and asses.
Yeah, but Black Widow's pretty cool. I think or at least in the beta, she was like the most OP character, like in terms of like skills and like what she can do with her abilities and stuff.
You can also spam that like staff overhead for like an AoE over and over again, and I'm just like, oh, I could totally spam the fuck out of this. I'm also assuming when they get Winter Soldier in the game, he's going to play very much the same, just probably with a bigger gun, I assume.
Yeah.
Also, I feel really dumb not realizing this until I was basically done the campaign. I'm like, man, these repulsors aren't nearly as powerful as they should be. What? He had lasers and rockets too? I had to unlock them? That's not fair.
Yeah, you didn't realize that?
Not until the very end. I'm like, wait, he had whole other options. I'm just sitting there, repulsor, kind of weak punches, because that's how I built it. I'm like, man, Iron Man's no fun. Then I got the rockets, and I'm like, oh, this is much better.
Yeah, I think the rockets are the strongest of those abilities. The lasers are good as well for like dealing with huge crowds.
Yes, which they really start throwing just immense groups of people at you at a point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Avengers game, it's all right. It has some bugs to be ironed out, and I'm sure it is, because their plan seems to be that this game is going to be with us for a while, and they're just going to keep adding shit to it.
Yeah, well, from what I've heard, like the next patch, whenever that's going to be, I'm not sure when, but it's going to fix like quite a few, or at least they promise it will.
Well, that's good. Now, I suppose from there we can hop into the news for this week. And there was a lot of news, Matt, but it didn't come from the source that you thought it would. You would assume that all the big DC news this week, and admittedly we have a ton of DC news here to cover, was going to be from Fandome, or should I say DC Fandome 2 Dome Harder. This is the sequel to the thing we only did like 4 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing it again, and oh boy, get excited for a bunch of panels and a bunch of video segments that weren't good enough to make it in the first time that we've all kind of chopped out and moved down the line. Now, you and I were worried because it's like, oh, AT&T took over this company. Oh no, AT&T fired a bunch of people and then had this big fan event. Oh no, and the stuff they pushed a couple weeks down was all comics-related stuff. Oh.
Yeah, and like just this whole event just screamed like they just don't give a shit about any of the stuff that was on here, which is mainly like the TV stuff and the comic book stuff and like animated stuff and all that.
If I had to sum it up in one word, it would be afterthought. And I basically already felt that way, where it's like, look, it's been a couple weeks. Surely they're not going to announce anything bigger than the Batman trailer. I'm going to fucking sleep in, and I'll just read about the news later, and you and I will do the show Sunday. And that's what I was going to do until Sal of Comic Pop wrote me and said, hey, Joel, are you watching this? Where can I actually see it? I'm not totally sure. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm not totally sure either. Let me get up and have a look. And oh, I'm glad I did, because what began was one of the most hilarious fucking shit shows. Like, what, it was supposed to start at noon. It didn't actually start, or didn't like actually get all the bugs worked out until like 2 hours later.
Yeah, which was kind of a shit move for me, because it started at like 1 or 12 your time. It started at 3 o'clock in the morning for me, and I wanted to stay up because I wanted to watch some of the panels, some of the Superman and Lois panels and all that stuff. And yeah, it started, and then like nothing worked, like nothing at all worked, and everyone was pushing links that didn't work. And as you said, like Sal didn't even know where to watch it. They didn't make it clear where you could watch it.
Yeah, we work in this industry. This is our thing. We're supposed to know this, and they made it impossible to decipher. Like, I think it was the day before, they're like, oh, plan your Fandome schedule. I'm like, why do all these things start at 1 and 12? Why all these things can't possibly start at once?
Because in the first one, they did it all like as a set throughout the day, whereas here they just like, we'll just dump them all at the same time.
As we eventually found out, despite the fact that they kept calling it a stream, the fact that they kept calling it basically Fandome 2. Oops, big problem. It's not actually a stream that you tune in and watch all at once. It's literally just, here's all the video segments we had from the original that we had no time for, that we pushed to the side. We're just going to throw them up. Although maybe you can stream them too, but only if you actually worked out a special deal with Warner Brothers. I heard this too from some people in the know. But eventually that didn't matter, because eventually they just fucking threw them all up anyway.
Yeah. Again, it was just like complete oversight on their part. They just didn't seem to care. And as I said, like, the whole, because they were pushing all the videos out, you'd think it would be pretty easy, where they have like a playlist of videos that are scheduled to, like how we schedule videos on YouTube.
Yes.
Scheduled to go out at a certain time. The time comes around, the video is published publicly. You'd think they'd do something like that, but apparently they didn't. They couldn't, stream it to like Twitch and YouTube and all these places. They had to have a website dedicated to it, and whoever designed the website wasn't very good at their job.
The best part is they had 4 extra weeks to plan this, and they still fucked it up.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know
You
how.
know, you know it was bad because you had like actual celebrities and industry people being like, "Hey everyone, the Harley panel is starting now. Hey everyone, the Three Jokers panel is starting now." Even though when you pressed it, it turned up like a 502 bad gateway because it's like, "Oh, you guys set these tweets and forgot about them because that's what you're contractually mandated to do, and now none of them are working."
Yep. It was funny watching them all like tweeted it all out and everything. And the funniest one I thought was the Superman Men of Tomorrow animated movie, which was really cool because it actually streamed for free for the whole day.
Oh, that's fun.
But what happened was it had its world premiere just the other day when all this started happening. Thing is, they still released the movie 4 weeks prior, so anyone anyone who wanted to see it has already seen it, and they're acting like this is the world premiere of it and everything.
That blew me away. I'm like, you cannot be fucking serious. Anyone who's actually a fan and actually cares watches these digitally 4 weeks before. Same with like the Three Jokers panel and everything else. It's like, motherfucker, we seen it. We've already read it. Why are you doing a panel on this when we've already seen it and read it?
Again,
because you were supposed to do it 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, again, it's like they didn't think about like, okay, well, we need to keep these panels on this day and we can move all of this stuff 4 weeks later. We need to keep all this particular stuff like Three Jokers and the Man of Tomorrow world premiere. We need to keep all that and move all of this elsewhere. They didn't think about that. They just moved everything that wasn't movie related, live action movie related, or live action TV.
Man, I knew that this was a glorious, glorious shit fire when Variety and other websites started actually tweeting big news stories from the panels that weren't actually playing, because obviously, again, they wrote their articles on this 4 weeks ago.
They knew about it already.
Yeah, they knew about it already. This was already ready to go. So, when they announced, what is it, Doom Patrol Season 3 announced, they already knew that, and the article already went before the stream could even have happened. And then the Young Justice fan site was like, "Hey, Young Justice Season 4 will be called Phantoms." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, because you guys already know, and you already set this to go, and this is amazing. This is the event is getting scooped because they already gave out the scoops 4 weeks ago."
God damn it. Yeah. And then as well, which we'll talk about a little later on the show, like obviously we had DC Solicitations came out, I think the day before, or like a couple of hours after before, and it kind of like, again, spoiled everything that happened at DC Fandome.
There was far more news in the solicitations, which we will be talking about, than there was at the actual event, which I'm like, so you literally made this event entirely pointless for anyone who actually cared. And stuff that you may have wanted where it's like, hey, Harley Quinn Season 3, right? No, we're not going to announce that here.
No, yeah, they could have used this chance to announce like a bunch of cool stuff, make it also special like the first one was. Nah.
Yeah. Nah. This is why it got moved 4 days. And I don't know if someone was taking the piss or not, but I actually heard someone floating the rumor where it's like, Warner Brothers is thinking like, hey, maybe we should charge people next year for fandom tour. I'm like, that's cute, but it's wrong.
What's also funny is I think it might have been Jim Lee tweeted it out that in the next week or so, there's going to be news announced for DC Universe about what's happening with that. Because obviously when Doom Patrol was renewed, it was renewed on HBO Max. They didn't mention anything about DC Universe.
And Stargirl is going to CW, and Harley Quinn is already on like a bunch of other networks. Yeah, that was a big story that they never addressed. Yeah, what will be the ultimate fate of DC Universe? It ain't fucking sticking around.
Yeah, or if it is, it's just going to go like all comics, like Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah. Or something like that. But so that was the shit show that was DC Fandome too. Oh, I wish you all could have been there on Twitter when we were taking the piss out of this event, because oh boy, man, here's the ball and here's you dropping the ball, which again, you did better 4 weeks ago. What the fuck happened?
Yeah, I could understand if it was like the day after and there might have been some minor technical difficulties, but yeah, they had 4 weeks to like make sure everything was fine, do test runs, you know?
Yeah.
Nah, don't care. They don't care.
I bet you $100 that literally the reason this didn't go off the way they wanted it to is some some unpaid intern forgot to set the videos from unlisted to private.
Probably, yeah, something, because they were using their own like proprietary video platform, which I guess they made for this, or like just like hosted, where it's like, well, just use YouTube, just like set a bunch of videos to private and then unprivate them. Like the system was already there, you might as well just use it.
No, Matt, we're a big company, so we need to spend lots of money that we could put on something else.
Oh, God damn it.
The only way we know we're doing a good job is when we spend a lot of money.
Yeah, they better not charge. Like, if this ends up being like a yearly thing, they better not start charging. Like, I imagine loads of people would be upset if they did that.
Well, you know, Matt, it depends if by this time next year we're actually allowed to go to actual conventions and trade shows again. I know it doesn't look good, so I guess we'll see. Man, if they start fucking charging con prices to go to the digital con, that'll be... At that point, I renounce geekery and nerdery, and I'm gonna, like, fucking start watching sports or something. The rebirth of Joel as a sports YouTuber.
Sports channel, yeah.
Hey, man, I guess I couldn't be Cape Joel anymore. I'd be like, Goal Joel or something now. Hey, man, you hear about the sports ball game? They got a touch pass. Yep, that's how it goes, right? That's what sports is like, right? Oh, man. I should do that for an April Fool's video, just, like, change the channel to Goal Joel and be like, yeah, we're all sports content now all the time. But yeah, let's actually talk about some of the few things that did get announced. Not at Fandom, but got announced around Fandom, and I alluded to them previously. Young Justice Season 3 finally announced. It's going to be called Phantoms, as, of course, the one before it was called Outsiders and Invasion and everything else. What do we think Phantoms is alluding to? Obviously, I'm sure the Superman fan in you, Matt, probably jumped to Phantom Zone.
Yep, Phantoms from the Phantom Zone. What happened at the end of... What happened at the end of the last season? Because I didn't watch all of it.
What did happen? I did. It's been so fucking long. Oh, okay. So, Brion, Geoforce of the Outsiders, actually turned heel on the rest of the team and actually became like the dictator of his country. So that was interesting because all season long, it's like, ooh, who's gonna turn on the Young Justice team? Who's the traitor? And we all thought it was Tara, only for them to kind of swerve you and be like, nah, it was actually her brother who ended up going heel on everybody.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It was kind of cool, yeah. It was an interesting thing, so I guess he'll be a foe moving forward. We got Beast Boy's new team, which is basically Teen Titans and everything but name.
Yeah, again, like, because of, like, the color of the logo and everything, I was thinking maybe, like, it had something to do with Beast Boy, because I do remember that being a thing where he got his own team.
Yeah, he is becoming a bigger character. They actually did a whole episode alluding to his history with the Doom Patrol.
Yeah, maybe I saw that one.
Maybe they'll come back. Maybe they're the Phantoms, like the Ghosts, because they live again, because the Doom Patrol always just dies over and over. A lot of people, too, thinking Phantoms might very well relate to Wally West, who, you know, gave his life and died. Maybe this is the season where he finally comes back, because they teased Ghost Wally a little bit.
It would kind of make sense, because I imagine this would be premiering around the time, well, it'll be premiering after the time, like, Wally West as Wally West is back in the comics.
Yeah, so there's definitely some places they could go with it. Man, I hope they work out the budget this season, because you could tell where they were cutting. Like, they had the big ideas, you know? They had what they wanted to do, and they weren't going to let a little thing like money slow them up. So you could tell they were cutting corners for, like, animation, being like, oh, are we going to get a fight here? We can end it with one punch.
Yeah, that's one of the things that kind of like put me off that season, because you could tell it was a lot cheaper than the previous seasons.
Yeah.
Like those first couple of episodes were rough.
Yeah, they wanted it to look the same. They wanted all the same actors. They had, all the wherewithal and all the storytelling chutzpah, but it's clear the money was not there. Mm-hmm. And man, I fear that things may bode very similarly for Harley Quinn, because the word is apparently budget is what's actually stopping up season 3 on HBO.
Yeah. I imagine, again, like, because these were just relegated to like nothing post on this part 2 of DC Fandome, they kind of don't want to spend money on it.
Animation is expensive, and good animation is really fucking expensive. Mm-hmm. And it seems now like all the really expensive animated shows go to streaming anyway. They go to like Netflix and shit.
Yeah, and then they're canceled after a season, even though that season's probably very, very good. Very
good, exactly. Like, what is it? That show, Kippo and the Wonder Beast. I didn't even start that because I'm like, ooh, what an impressive, interesting looking animated show. This ain't gonna fucking make it. Oh, it got 3 seasons, and the 3rd season is the last one. Okay, maybe I will go back and watch it then. Maybe I'll give it a try. Yeah, as Chris in the chat is saying, yeah, they don't have money for Young Justice, but they got dump trucks full of money to go to, Zack Snyder's house to finish movies that already bombed once.
Mm-hmm.
Don't spend that money on something that's already proven popular and a critical darling. Spend it on something that you basically got threatened and browbeaten into doing. For fuck's sake. But so yeah, that's Young Justice. Should be good. I'm definitely interested in it. I'm ride or die for Young Justice at this point, even if I fully admit that 3rd season had a lot of trouble. My thing is like, okay, look, you don't have all the money you used to. Just do less episodes.
Yeah, just make the seasons 10 episodes.
Yeah, like Harley only had, I think, like 10 episodes a season, and they did 2 seasons back to back. I think Young Justice had considerably more, but it's like, yeah, just roll it back, take the budget you have and spend it, the right way. Do like old Star Trek, basically. Look, like, these are the talkie-walkie episodes, and these are like, the big blowout episodes.
Well, maybe as well, what they should do is maybe scale back the cast a little bit, because it's quite a big cast of characters.
It's massive.
So maybe just scale them back to like a base team of like 5.
And that's another thing, too, where it's like, man, I really respect this show for Greg Wise being like, yeah, this is my DC universe, and we're going to explore every single corner of it, and it's going to be a cast of millions. And I know some people even complained about that in the previous season, where it's like, well, wait, the characters I started with this season, they're all in managerial roles now, and they're all, like, getting older and shit, because we know we keep jumping ahead, like, 5 years every season.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, hey, is cool, because that means we might actually get Super Sons this season, perhaps, depending on how hard they jumped ahead.
Yeah.
You never know. But yeah, so that was your Young Justice news. And I mean, there was the Doom Patrol news there as well. But I think there's even less to say about that, because technically they didn't even get to finish season 2 before the pandemic hit, and they kind of had to rush it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, they can announce all these shows, but we're not going to see them for probably, a good year and a half.
Yeah, especially the live action ones where it's like, you can't go out and film these right now. I mean, you could, but as we've seen with like Robert Pattinson and The Rock, there's no telling that your actors won't get sick.
Yeah. So it's cool that they're announcing them, but yeah, I'd rather they like sit on it and just wait until they know it's an absolute certainty that they can do it.
It's true, and then it's like, I'm sure in their mind, they're like, no, we can't do that. We gotta work to earn, to like actually feed our families and feed ourselves, and we signed contracts and everything, and this has to get done. And I'm like, wow, that sounds really shitty, from people who are working blue-collar jobs and even people who are working in entertainment. It's like, yeah, we have to make something eventually. I know the world is burning and like all the rules are flying out the window, but we have to make something. Perfect example, I'm a big fan of Law & Order, and September is usually when like the new season of Law & Order comes back. Mm-hmm. They had to wrap up early because of the virus, and I'm like, did they even get to film in the off season? Did they even film a show? And they're like, yeah, we're coming back November probably. And I'm like, that's not that far away. How are you going to film like multiple episodes in that time? Look, we're going to go to Mariska Hargitay's house, okay, with like a GoPro, and we're going to film it. It all takes place in Olivia Benson's house this year.
You're gonna have a load of episodes that that have characters in comas reliving like clip shows
from classic episodes.
Remember when Stabler beat that child rapist up?
Hell yeah, I do. Actually, Stabler's supposed to come back this season. This is the big return of Stabler season.
Yeah.
He returns here, and then he's getting his own spin-off Law & Order, Organized Crime Division.
Yeah, Chris Melody just goes around, beats up child rapists.
Which, hey, that's a fun show. I'd watch that show. It's funny, too, it's great to see Maloney back, but it's also sad, too, because he's like, hey, man, I had my run on SVU, and everyone loved it. Now I'm going to do other things. It's going to be great. Happy, canceled, all. All of his other projects canceled before their time, and it's like, oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame. But, I could see his thing where it's like, look, I'll come back and do SVU, but I need my own spin-off that I can star in. And also, I think they're, they're being kind of unoriginal with Organized Crime Division. Come on, it totally should have been Internal Affairs.
Yeah, it should have. That would have been really interesting, actually.
That is, but I literally think Dick Wolf is terrified of making that show because he's like, no. I only get to make Law & Order because I enjoy a good relationship with the real-life NYPD. And if I started making this show, they're like, oh, guess what? We can't come and be extras in your thing. And, oh, look, we're not going to give you the cruisers in uniforms anymore. Oops. But, so Doom Patrol, I wonder, too, is technically the episodes we didn't get at the end of last season, are they counted for this new season order, too?
I guess so, because that's, like, how, like, the CW shows are working, how, like, the shows, the episodes they didn't get to film at the end of last season are going to be, like, the first 2 episodes of the next season. So I imagine that's going to how it's working in Doom Patrol. I mean, they have to. Because it was wrapped up, but then it wasn't. So they kind of need to explain a little bit stuff with Dorothy and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it was a total Empire Strikes Back ending where everyone is defeated and everything is at its lowest.
Yeah.
Oh, well, either way, 2 shows I'm excited about. I'm glad they're coming back, and I hope I get to enjoy them at some point.
Yeah.
All right, then what else do we got here? Oh, more DC news, this time from the film side of things. Wonder Woman 1984 moved to Christmas now. Moved again.
And I guarantee you it has everything to do with Tenet absolutely bombing at the box office.
100%. People spoke with their wallets, and they were not willing to risk their lives to go see the new magnum opus from Christopher Nolan, and because of that, they're like, oh, fuck, we got to do something with this big crowd pleaser we've been sitting on. Move it to Christmas, and here's the thing, I bet they're going to move it again. Like, I still think that is wildly wishful thinking that we're going to be getting to see movies by Christmas time.
And, yeah, not just that, just like, you think like, oh, it's Christmas, that's a long time away. It's 3 fucking months away.
And it's already been how many months in quarantine? I know it's hard to keep track of time anymore, but yeah, it's like, I'm sure because they took that big Chris Nolan hit with Tenet, I'm sure they're probably feeling extra worried right now. And I'm sure the other big thing in the Hollywood press is that Mulan movie came out, and they have not announced the numbers for that yet, to where I'm like, ooh, so they're not bad, but they're not what you wanted. They're not bragging numbers is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, I know Mulan didn't do well in like China when they fucking bent over backwards to fucking appease their China overlords.
Yeah. Even amidst a storm of controversy, a friggin' Professor Thorgy had to remind me of this. It's like, hey, remember when the actress who starred as Mulan in the new movie came out in favor of the oppressive regime that was beating up people in the Hong Kong protests? Oh, no, that's right, I did forget about that. Well, guess what? They also filmed some of this movie around those new Chinese concentration camps that they set up for Muslim people. Oh, no!
Yeah, that whole movie is just so weird because I haven't seen it yet because I'm not fucking paying to watch it. From what I've heard, it just basically it's not even like a remake, like how Lion King was a remake of the animated movie. It's like completely devoid of like all the stuff that made the animated Mulan really good. And they give her like superpowers and all of that sort of stuff.
She's a Chi-warrior
like,
now, yes.
They pick and choose from like Chinese like myths and legends that when mashed together don't make any sense.
Which is funny because the first Mulan did that too, and they got in trouble for it. Because it's a weird fucking movie. Like if they had called it anything but Mulan, and if they didn't, occasionally bring in a couple bars of the score, I might actually have enjoyed it better. Because it's like, oh, it's like a wushu kung fu movie for kids. But then like every 5 minutes, it keeps reminding you that this is a Mulan movie, and it's like, oh yeah, the animated one's better.
Does it even have like musical numbers in it?
No, none at all. They have a couple stings of the songs so you get a couple bars of reflection, and you get a couple. You get one guy making reference to "I'll make a man out of you," but no, you get no songs.
God damn it! I don't know. I know Donnie Yen's in it. I wonder if he gets to do anything. Probably not.
No, he. I think he's the emperor. I think he just kind of stands
you
there.
waste fucking Donnie Yen. Come on.
Yeah, totally. It's worse too because they imply that the emperor is also a badass she warrior, and then he does no actual fighting in the movie.
Of course.
Well, I think he like grabs an arrow out of he grabs an arrow out of the air at one point, and him and Mulan do like combo move against the villain, which is weird too because like it's a completely different guy from the movie. It's not what is it? I was gonna call him Shang Tsung, but that's not it. It's not Tai Lung. It's not the guy from the movie. I think they like actually try and make him a real. Jet Li's the emperor apparently.
Oh, is Jet Li the emperor? I know Donnie Yen's in it. I didn't even know Jet Li was in it.
Yeah, Jet Li.
That's even worse. How do you waste Jet Li?
That Jet Li doesn't get to do much.
God damn it!
Chair. Yeah, the villain is like Bori Khan, and I'm like, was that a real person? Because it's like, yeah, hey, all this stuff we did with the Huns was actually kind of historically inaccurate, and like actually there's many groups here of Rohans and kind of like nomadic people, so we're still gonna demonize them as villains, but we're gonna be more historically accurate when we do. It's weird. It's fucking weird. It's a weird fucking movie, Mulan. It really is. And stranger still, it kind of botches the girl power message, actually, where it's like, in the original Mulan, yeah, she's a woman who succeeds in a man's world because she doesn't brute force her way through every problem. She does the cool firework trick that brings down the mountains on all of them, and that's super badass. In this, it's like, nah, Mulan succeeds in a man's world because she's a badass she warrior, chosen by the universe. I'm like, that's not a good message.
I was gonna say that, yeah, they attribute like all her like fighting prowess and all that to like, oh, she's magic powers. She's a Jedi.
Yeah, because she's a fucking Jedi. And then I started thinking about what they did to Rey in that last Star Wars movie.
It's exactly the same.
How do you make that mistake twice? Fuck.
And they're both Disney films.
And Rey's story started so good, and then they completely undercut it by being like, nah, she's a Palpatine. And then I love this week, too. They're like, ooh, but she was almost a Kenobi, too. And I'm like, that's also bad. And people are like, oh, that would have made the movie so much better. No, it wouldn't have. We've had all the same problems. Shut the fuck up. That's equally as bad, but we're talking about Wonder Woman. Do you think they're just going to bite the bullet and eventually put this on fucking streaming?
See, I don't know. I would say yes, but then like I know like WB can be pretty bullheaded because they fucking broke down to fucking Nolan, who demanded his film be put out in cinemas, and it completely bombed, and that could drive them to VOD and realize that, oh, there's money to be made here. But as well as like I think they could be like, no, we're going to make this like, this is going to be our real get back into the cinema movie. Tenet wasn't that. Just don't pay attention to Tenet. Pay attention to Wonder Woman.
Yeah, really. I just don't know, man. I really don't. I want to see it. I don't know if I'm going to see it. And also, too, I wonder if the reason the studios are being so bullheaded, too, where it's like, guys, we can't finish movies like we used to now because everyone needs to stay 6 feet apart and people are editing at home. And, like, we have this one done and in the tank. We don't have any more in the tank after this.
Yeah, they want to, like, try and stretch it out for as long as possible.
Like, that's what I'm thinking, because, like, clearly they can't finish these movies at the same speed, and when they try, like, with The Batman, oh, fuck, our star got COVID.
Yeah, I actually saw someone mention that maybe, like, they could be doing that, like, moving Wonder Woman to December so they can basically marathon Tenet until then, sort of, like, keep it extending its run in the cinema to, like, make back money, but as well as, like, just keep something in the cinema.
Right. Well, because I know that's a big problem, too, with the theater owners who are like, look, your movie fucking underperformed. You told us people would come and see it, and they didn't. So now we're out money. We had to pay hazard pay to our employees to come out and work during a fucking pandemic. We only really make money off concessions. Everything else is rent. And hey, guess what? If we're closed down and not doing business, we actually have more leeway to negotiate with our landlords and shit.
And again, I think a lot of the blame also has to be laid on Chris Nolan, because he was adamant that this film be released. And not only that, he was vehemently against it, because they said, like, okay, we'll release it, but we'll also release it in drive-ins, because drive-ins are super fucking popular right now.
Yes, they have to be.
And he said, no, you're not releasing this film in drive-ins. And the movie never went to drive-ins. And because of that, it's fucking suffered.
Stubborn to the point of recklessness, and it didn't pay off, seemingly for anybody.
Again, I seem to think that, like, he thought that, like, oh, this will be like, I'll be the savior of cinema, that I'll be the savior of the theater, because he is a big theater vocal about, like, going to the theater and having that theater experience, and yeah, that's cool, but, like, there's a fucking pandemic on, like, does he not have, like, any tact, and does he not realize that?
I mean, again, yeah, like I said, I can understand being an artist. I can understand, loving theaters. I would love to go to the theater, but not now, Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Trust me, I would love to make Tenet the first movie I see after not getting to see movies in like 4 or 5 months. But again, I ain't risking it. But so yeah, we'll see about Wonder Woman, and I guess too we'll see about Black Widow, because it seems like, again, Warner Brothers and Disney are kind of playing, 3-dimensional chess with the release dates of all these movies now.
Yeah, well, yeah, Black Widow's kind of a strange one. I guess like as we said in past weeks, Mulan was like the big sort of test for Black Widow, and I guess because that movie, I don't know, didn't do very well on VOD.
They didn't report the numbers, which communicates to me that it didn't do so good they're willing to brag about it, but not so bad that everyone's saying, like, oh, it did so bad.
They only made some of the money, not all of the money.
Only all the money, which, again, I'm sure if they told you how much money, like, oh, we made this many $1 million, it's like, well, that's a lot. And they're like, yeah, but we're fucking, Disney, and that's not good enough.
Yeah, especially this movie costs like $200 million to make, plus $200 million on marketing,
Yeah. Especially when they thought that this was going to be the great, uniter of their North American movie division and their Chinese movie division, and now that they got to basically eat crow on it. And I'm sure in the back of their mind, they're like, fine, controversies, whatever. The actress said this, we filmed it there. It's fine. When this makes $1 billion worldwide, no one's going to remember that. When it makes $1 million, it's all going to be fine. Ah, fuck. So really, all they have now is the controversy. But yeah, there's your Wonder Woman news. Everybody, we may have to be waiting a little longer for this one.
Yeah.
And I guess drive-ins can't be open during the winter, can they? I mean, I'm sure they could try, but it would be difficult.
Yeah, I don't think they would be able to.
No, you would have to be out there, like, de-icing and defrosting the screen endlessly, and, like, yeah, it would probably...
Or if you live in California, putting out the fires that are breaking out around you because people are deciding to do gender reveals in the middle of a fucking drive-in theater.
God damn. Yeah, there's just roaming bands of gender reveal party people setting fires. It's a boy. It's a boy. That's so fucked up that we found out that was the reason. It's just like, God damn. So we can't go out because, we might get sick, and we also can't go out because shit's on fire.
Yeah.
Hey, big up to Kirk out there and all our other LA friends there. Stay safe, guys and gals.
In your Blade Runner city.
Yeah, where the sky is looking like the later seasons of fucking Ninja Turtles when the sky is blood red. Man, don't you love knowing that we're slowly but surely going to the darkest futures from all of our favorite movies? God damn. All right, what else did we have going on this week? So more female superhero news. Apparently, Sony, in conjunction with Amazon, is actually developing a Silk TV series, which I find quite surprising.
Yes, the dozens of fans will be very happy.
Hey, I'm one of those dozens of fans. But yeah, I know they had been talking about for a while, Sony, where it's like, okay, so we're sharing Spider-Man again, so we won't get to make all the money, but what are all these other Spider-related characters we can do something with? And I guess that was one.
Yeah, and I get in the chat saying, why Silk? Yeah, why Silk?
Because they have Silk. That's why. Which, again, Silk didn't even last that long as a comic book. I think it lasted like 2 volumes, and she's only kind of showing up, though she did actually show up in Spider-Man this week, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, you think... You would think that, like, because they're doing a TV show, you'd think that they'd take a page out of, like what DC are doing, where it's like, we have a show that's, like, going to be based on, like, Gotham Central. You'd think they'd do a show where it's like, we're going to have a show based on the Daily Bugle.
Or something like
that, yeah.
Well, we gotta put a hero in it,
or something, you know.
Oh, Oscorp would be fun.
yeah, it was just send her to work for like Oscorp, you know.
Well, she did eventually end up working at the Fact Channel, which is like the J. Jonah Jameson Fox News, so they could probably get him in some way.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, if they had done that, you could have done a show that's like a satirical take on like Fox News.
That's a little too big concept. You've already frightened all the executives in the room.
That
takes me more than 2 seconds to think about. I don't like it. But no, Silk, for those of you who don't remember, she was bitten by the same spider as Peter Parker, but Ezekiel, that dude who was involved in, the original Morlun and the other story and everything, basically locked her up in a bunker for a decade. So she's literally still a 90s kid. She has not evolved past that point, and she kind of gets out of the bunker a decade later and, has to deal with having basically all the same spider powers as Spider-Man, who she also idolized while in the bunker.
Yeah, again, might piss some people off, but she's basically Spider-Man's Cassandra Cain.
In a lot of ways. But again, I liked her. What I think a lot of people forgot about that book, and probably why the book didn't last too long, is it was genuinely funny, and funny comics don't last very long. She had a very interesting sense of humor. The book was, fun and self-referential, and she basically almost took the piss out of herself for being a superhero and being like a Xerox of Spider-Man. So, I mean, like, there's interesting places you could take for a show. In fact, you could even have, like, a whole series overarching thing where it's like she gets out of the bunker and she wants to find her family. Her family has moved on and her family is missing. And I'm like, that's good television. This is fucking ready-made drama right there.
Yeah, there's definitely something there for it. But again, it's like, why Silk?
Why Silk? Because why not Silk?
Like, is that like one of the only characters they're allowed to like do themselves? Like, it's not in that contract that says that Marvel Studios has to be involved in it or something?
I'm assuming so, yes. I'm assuming they have a short list of characters they're allowed to make stuff out of. Venom is one, Silk is another.
And again, how are they going to like do the whole like Spider-Man connection?
On a budget, yeah.
Yeah, well, not only that, but like
it's not like Tom Holland's gonna show up.
Yeah, like it'll be like a goddamn it'd be like Gotham, where it's like we can allude to Batman, but we can't really show him. We can have someone like swinging up on that building just like over in the distance, like dot's Spider-Man.
Even though here's a person bitten by the same spider with the very same powers running around in the same city, but they'll never cross paths.
It's that Venom situation. It's like, well, why does Venom look the way he does when he hasn't been on Peter first?
Because fuck you, that's why. But again, if they embrace the comedy aspect of it, that could be part of the thing where it's like she just keeps seeing Spider-Man, but it's like, hey, he just keeps swinging away. It's like he's ignoring me. Like, make that into the series. Yeah, make it, like, very self-aware. And, hey, the fact that this is Lord and Miller, who I guess are working on this because they have an overall deal for all of the Spider-Man-centric stuff, yeah, make it self-aware. Have Cindy Moon, like, totally own that fact that she'll never be allowed to meet Spider-Man.
There you go. Make it, like, 21 Jump Street.
Yes, like she's in a crowd and like people, it's Spider-Man Day and there's Spider-Man merchandise ever, and she's like, Spider-Man, maybe I was bitten by the same spider. Oh, he can't hear me. Or like, oh, meet and greet Spider-Man at the mall. Oh, it's an impersonator. Fuck. Just everywhere she goes trying to meet Spider-Man and it never works out. Or like she sees like a bunch of Tom Holland movies on television. Like, again, just make constant reference to a person who can never show up. Again, in the right hands, could be very funny.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm surprised, too, you're talking why Silk, probably because they have, Spider-Gwen, a.k.a. Ghost Spider, slated for that next Spider-Verse movie and potentially a spin-off of her own.
That's what makes it so weird, because they have this character that's proven that they can be very popular. Everyone fucking loved Spider-Gwen from that Into the Spider-Verse movie, so, like, why not just spin that off into, like, its own movie like this, or, like, its own TV show like this?
Probably because we can't keep paying Haley Steinfeld to come back every time.
Yeah, that's true.
Probably because she's asking a lot of money if we're going to do this on a TV budget. And we sure as shit can't do an Into the Spider-Verse weekly cartoon series because, again, what, we look like we're made of money? That's a fucking moving, breathing work of art you see right there. That ain't going to happen. Oh, someone's saying in the chat that it's actually from the same writers as Voltron. Okay, well, that's actually a pretty good writing team, actually. Which, again, that new Voltron show was funny and self-aware.
It was, yeah.
So there you go. Maybe Silk will work. I'm holding out hope that Silk might end up actually surprising all of us. Which, again, to talk about, Marvel products all over the goddamn place. This is being developed for Amazon, and then we have that MODOK show that is apparently not dead over at Hulu, and you still might get a chance to see that.
That was really surprising. When we're going to be getting, like, something from that very soon, actually. That was really surprising to see that was actually still happening. Same with that Hellstrom show. Like, there was a trailer for that and everything. I'm like, really? Did they film this?
I guess it's a perfect example of they were far enough along that we couldn't cancel it like they canceled everything else. So I guess we're going to have to see it to fruition, even if they end up just being one-season wonders. And let's face it, these are going to be one-season wonders.
Yeah.
Because these still came out during Loeb's tenure of running the TV department, and whoever's in charge now is going to be like, no, I'm not going to do your shit.
No, yeah, they're going to do something completely different.
Apparently that's what killed Venture Brothers, too. Lazo, I had no idea him and all the other brass at Cartoon Network had actually retired before the AT&T acquisition, perhaps implying that they knew the acquisition was coming, and whoever's new and in charge now is like, no, get rid of everything.
Yeah, the Venture Brothers news just doesn't make any sense to me because it's like got a cult following, is very popular. And they're just,
it was on TV for 17 years.
Yeah, and they just, like, outright cancel it. Again, like, AT&T, they just don't seem to care about, like, these things, like TV and, like, stuff that's, like, popular on TV. They only care about, like, the big movies.
Again, I'm sure, too, some money man or whoever the new president of the animation division looked at the spreadsheet and they're like, wait. We've been keeping Hammer in Public working for us for 17 years, and they've turned in, 7 seasons of television? That's fucking unacceptable. You're fired. Which, let's face it, any other network they would be. It's just, Mike Lazo was like, hey, guys, we know you're just making art and everything, and, I just love what you guys are doing over here. Take all the time you need.
Yeah, maybe if the AT&T guys actually watched the show, they'd figure out, like, oh, this is why it took 17 years, because it's actually, like, a good show.
And loaded with references and, like, actual really interesting fucking character arcs for very silly characters.
Yeah, although knowing the AT&T guys, because they're all old white men, they'd be like, this is just a ripoff of Johnny Quest.
Yeah, do we own Johnny Quest? Can we do that again?
Not realizing that's the point.
That's literally the joke. Yeah, man, Venture Brothers was so good.
It really was. I'm going to go back and watch that. I'm going to watch that in Metalocalypse.
Yeah, that's all really good shit. Again, the old guard of Adult Swim and Cartoon Network. I know too. Hammer in Public were saying on their Twitter feed where it's like, yeah, it really sucks that this is over, but now I guess we're free to create something else, and we hope that you take that ride with us. Yeah,
I'm actually surprised that like somehow Netflix or Amazon Prime never picked up like Venture Brothers.
Yeah, I mean, fucking HBO Max app, which again is Warner Brothers, and you would think they would want a piece of that to compete with Netflix and all the money and creators that they're pouring into their animation division now.
Yeah.
It should come back as a comic. They should do the Buffy the Vampire Slayer thing and be like, look, this is Venture Brothers Season 8, the comic.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's another funny thing about Venture Brothers. There's shockingly little, like, merchandise for that show. They did not merch it up.
I think it might have something to do with it being kind of like a cult show where it's like, we can't really put out, like, like action figures of like Samson and all that, you know, do all this sort of stuff, because like people won't fucking know what it is. There'll be groups of people who do, but like the average Joe won't.
Yeah, also, too, I mean, you know, Doc Hammer, if the name was no giveaway, is an artist, like an actual legit, like, moody New York artist and everything. So I'm sure he's like, nah, man, that would cheapen the art, man. If we did, I'm sure he'd be one of those types.
Yeah.
For doing it. Which, meanwhile, you see the exact opposite of it on something like a Rick and Morty, where Harmon and Roiland are
everything.
Oh, yeah, which was totally their thing, where Harmon and Roiland are like, well, they're going to cancel us after one season anyway. We might as well make some fucking money. Oh, you mean it's huge? Oh, and the merchandise is selling? Oh, fuck. I guess we're the modern day TMNT guys, right? Like, yeah, just slap it on everything. It's fine. Someone was saying we did actually get Venture Brothers Funko Pops. I mean, everything gets a Funko Pop.
Oh, no.
There's probably comic multiverse Funko Pops that we don't know about that we didn't sign off on.
Unlicensed bootleg Funko Pops of us.
Deep in the heart of Malaysia, there is a Cape Joel and Fortress of Solitude Matt Funko Pop.
Yeah, there's like some weird comic multiverse Funko Pop trade in deep jungle Malaysia.
Yes, you can only trade it for uncut cocaine and blood diamonds. It's the only thing that can be purchased
Bitcoin.
with. Oh, there you go, multi-coin. hey, if anyone out there in the comic multiverse universe does do like modified and like custom toys and everything, just throwing that out there. That's one Funko Pop I will proudly put on my desk if it's me.
I don't know how I feel about having a toy of myself.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm not that vain.
It's like it's like when a band wears their own band T-shirt.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on from there, some Superman Action comic news, Matt, that I'm sure you'll probably feel quite strong about. But it was announced with the DC solicitations that the era of Bendis, you know, Bendis was coming, and now Bendis is going to be leaving as of December. His run on Superman in Action will be closing out.
Well, I just want to point it out. It says the creative teams will be finishing up. Doesn't say he'll be leaving. It says the creative teams are finishing up. That could just mean
different artist.
Bendis is leaving, and you know John Romita Jr. is staying, or Ivan Reis is staying with the new writer, or Bendis is staying and getting new artists.
Interesting. Did he confirm nor deny that? That feels like something he would confirm or deny on Twitter.
Not actually too sure.
I think if he did, we probably would have seen it or would have heard about it. He seems like the sort of dude who'd be like, "Hey, fucking get rid of me. I'll take this to my grave."
Yeah, I don't see that he was like talking about the panel that he was on, the Enduring Symbol of Hope panel.
Right.
And that's about it.
Because like, didn't he just start like a big new run this week?
Mm-hmm.
Simtar, whoever the new villain is, the new Rogolzar.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to that. It's not what you think.
Isn't it? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, no, he doesn't mention about leaving or anything. So again, probably just a switch up of creative teams, different artists and colorists and stuff like that.
Interesting. Again, I'm assuming if they change anything up, it's going to be January, as I keep saying, because that's when Metal ends.
Yeah, that's when all the books seemingly relaunch. Although in saying that, it looks like the main books, like the Batmans, the Supermans, and all that, aren't going to be renumbered.
Yeah. Jim Lee also said that, too, in an interview when they asked him about 5G. I know we're not quite there yet, but it bears repeating, where he basically said, yeah, we were going to reboot everything with 5G, and we were going to go back to number one, but now that's, like, literally not the plan anymore. But then also, if you read the article, which I love, none of the headlines mentioned it, he's like, oh, yeah, we still got lots of great ideas and stories that we're going to start putting in organically. I'm like, oh, so the 5G stories are sticking around in some form. You're just repurposing them.
As I've been saying this whole time, 5G is still happening. And I don't understand why people keep saying that it's not happening, it's cancelled, when they've literally said it's fucking happening.
Yeah, we're just not calling it that, and we're also not going to use it as an excuse to renumber. We're just putting those ideas in other books, and we'll be talking about some of those books later on. But I think this rumor got further exacerbated. I'm using that word right, exacerbated. by the fact that Mark Waid will also be returning to DC in the next couple months as part of some of the bigger death metal anthologies. And I know a lot of people have been fan casting forever. Hey, we would love if Mark Waid wrote a modern Superman run at some point.
Again, like, I had people like tweeting at me saying like, "Oh, Mark Waid's writing Superman." It's like, no, he's not. He's just back at DC. That does not mean he's writing, Superman. That doesn't mean anything.
Definition of wishful thinking. Everybody really wants it to happen, and they think if they just hope and wish hard enough, it'll happen.
Yeah. Just also back on the Bendis news, we didn't mention it here, but in his Legion book, because his Legion book is wrapping up, it seeks to imply that he's going to kill off Superboy. Which I hope he does. Just because I know some people in the chat here are going to get really, really salty about it.
The salt will sustain Matt for a fortnight. His fries will never go unsalted.
The salt revenue from my videos will sustain me.
The salt revenue. Matt, deep in the salt mine.
Yeah, I don't get Google AdSense. I get Google Salt Sense.
Salt bugs. I just see Matt sitting there like that scene in Mad Max Fury Road. Ah, yes, salt, the great salt, as far as the eye can see. And it's just Matt in a dune buggy. Yeah. I don't know what people's problem are. This salt is great. Yeah, jump in the salt. Yeah, that is something Bendis would do. I don't doubt that for a fucking second.
But no, the story for it would be actually really good because it's Superboy seemingly... Again, it's a solicitation, and like covers, you can't always believe them. But the solicitation seems to imply that Superboy sacrifices himself so New Krypton can survive.
Oh, yeah. Did they kind of reference that too early on? Didn't they like kind of plant that seed that like either Superman or a Superman would have to do something to usher in like the Legion's era of peace or some shit? So again, you can't say he hasn't been building up to it.
Again, yeah, I don't know why people just haven't been reading the books. He's been building up to all of this sort of stuff that he's paying off now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not interested in reading it, but I'll listen to you tell me about it.
Again, it's not for everyone, but I find it really fucking cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's even just fascinating just as like a time capsule. Like, hey, remember that time Bendis all over the place on Superman for like a couple of years? It'll be interesting, too, when a new writer eventually does come over, how much he's going to keep and what he's going to get rid of.
Yeah, and again, I got to remind people that once a new writer comes on, stuff isn't just going to change in an issue.
No, comics are a long-form storytelling device. It takes forever. What would be really hilarious, and again, people are like, yeah, Wade's coming. It's going to be so great. We're going to get John back. I'm like, how do you know that? How do you know Mark Waid doesn't not want to write about Superboy?
Exactly. Like, how do you know he doesn't want to... How do you know he doesn't have a story for, like, a teenage Superboy, you know? How do you know he doesn't keep John dead and keep, Connor Kent as the Superboy, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, we're further from Super Sons reunion than ever now because, like, Damian's not even fucking Robin anymore.
Also, I'm fairly certain someone, I think it might have been Bendis or someone, like, around that like, actually confirmed that he was not the reason why Super Sons was cancelled.
Yeah, and well, that's good to know, at least.
Yeah, so the people who were always saying that, he was the reason Super Sons were cancelled, he wasn't.
Although I do mention Super Sons and Tomasi. Apparently, another thing we saw in the solicitations is that Damian will actually be going back to the Tomasi detective book, and they're going to have an arc together. And apparently, they're going to, deal with basically all the bullshit that Damian's been doing for the last, couple years.
Oh, we'll get to that, because that's actually mentioned in this week's Flash.
Ooh, hot damn. Yeah, I'm interested in that. So, all right, let's keep moving on there. We got all the tangents this week. So we actually got some plot details, too, for DC's big winter Christmas event, Endless Winter.
Yes, we got a big reveal of, who the villain is, and it's an ancient Norse god.
I legitimately feel like I wrote this in an old pitch session, only I did it for Marvel. And it's like, yeah, what if one of the fucking ice giants comes to Earth around Christmas time, but it's like an older, more powerful ice giant than you've ever seen. And apparently, too, this is also here because they're trying to, like, backdoor what is basically the Justice League BC now, where Black Adam was a member and Queen Hippolyta was a member, and fucking the Viking Prince from, like, the original Brave and the Bold was a member.
Again, I believe this is more generation stuff, because again, it's
Old
stuff
and new
that
coming
happens
together.
before Wonder Woman, and then Wonder Woman gets involved because she's the first hero and everything. Again, it feels like generation stuff. Like this is going to be like a big generation event.
We also got to keep Black Adam nice and hot and prominent because he's got a movie coming out, so now he gets to be the focal point in a big Justice League event.
And
story.
after his role in Shazam, I'm glad they're keeping him in the spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, they were going to do it anyway because he's got to get that multimedia bucks, man. Got to prime the pump and shit. But it sounds cool. It sounds interesting. It doesn't sound like your traditional DC event.
I like that. Something that was quite strange is that they actually released the covers for every single issue of the event, because the event isn't just running through Justice League, it's running through, there's a Superman one-shot. I think there was a Batman one.
Yeah, there's a couple.
There's like a Justice League Dark. It was like running through all these books. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. They haven't done an event like this before. Or not for a while.
No, not for a long time. It's funny, too. I think this will also be coming out around the same time Marvel is doing their big Venom King in Black event as well.
Cool.
Which is funny. I looked at some of the solicitations for that, and it's like, oh, hey, we're having a big Venom event at Christmas time. And they're like, yeah, and Christmas is actually going to play a part in the King in Black. I'm like, fuck off. No, it isn't. They're like, yeah, it is. Look.
Yeah, his character's fighting Santa.
Yeah, like literally, yeah, there's an Iron Man Doctor Doom like special one-shot, and Santa's in the background. I'm like, that's a little silly. Then I'm reminded, no, wait, Santa's an Omega level mutant in the Marvel Universe. Yeah. That actually totally tracks.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that's so fucking awesome.
Is Professor X going to be like, hey, Saint Nick, why aren't you in Krakoa with the other Omega mutants? Better move that holly jolly ass double time, son.
Is it going to be like an Xavier cloned Santa, and it's an evil Santa who's giving cold to everyone on Earth except the Krakoans?
Oh, I like how the X-Men stole Christmas.
There you go. If the writer of that issue, Christopher Cantwell, is listening, is that the story?
You have to blink twice. Blink twice. Man, that's how we know the Krakoans have gone too far. They've kind of been dancing around it, where it's like, oh, we're doing a little, dark, shady shit, but no more darker and shadier than your average nation. Then the time came when the Krakoans stole Christmas.
Yeah, again, Beast has been up to some shady shit. He recruits Santa for the X-Force.
You're a mean one, Mr. McCoy. Your heart's an empty hole. It's just Beast, like, sneaking into Avengers Mansion and the Fantastic Four's towers, stealing all their presents. Jeez, Beast, man, you've gone too far this time, man. You got to cool your shit. He even took the log for their fire. Oh, man, fan art, everyone, of just disheveled Beast breaking into people's houses, stealing Christmas gifts. Oh, man. But, yeah, Endless Winter looks cool. No pun intended.
Yeah, I like that. It's again, taking place in December, all through December. It seems like barring, DC is pretty infamous with delays. Barring any delays, it should be like a weekly event.
Missed opportunity for this whole, like, Justice League BC team. They seemingly don't have an Aquaman surrogate, which is weird because we saw in, like, Drowned Earth and in the Aquaman book, there were, like, Atlantean dudes who were basically proto-Aquaman.
Maybe they will be. Maybe they want to save some stuff. Maybe it'll be revealed that, like, when they fought this, the oceans froze, so Atlantis froze or something.
That's actually pretty slick, actually, Matt, and that's why, like, what was his name, like, Orion or Orion, the guy from Drowned Earth, who was, like, an Atlantean explorer and, like, totally just, like, proto-Aquaman?
Yeah.
Nah, no one remembers that story but us. All right, what else do we have going on here? Spinning out of the pages of the Young Justice book that you were reading and I wasn't, Jinny Hex will be getting a special one-shot by Visaggio.
Yeah, Magdaene Visaggio. Yeah, it looks really cool. It looks like it's going to be sending her back in time to the Old West.
Which, assumedly, she'll be meeting her ancestor, because why would you send her back in time if that wasn't the case?
Exactly. They're definitely building up towards that. So the return of Jonah Hex.
Right, which, hey, works for me.
And I guess we're going to get some backstory on the chest, because throughout the Young Justice, we've learnt the chest is filled with, like, all different, like, powerful weapons, like ray guns and all stuff that, like, Jonah had collected in his travels.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. What's the deal with the chest? Because when I was reading it, I know they're like, oh, it's the chest in the back of the truck. Oh, it means something. Oh, it's powerful. And, like, clearly not the first weird thing Jenny got, because even in that frickin' Batman Universe book, which was good, she, had, like, the broken White Lantern ring.
Yeah, that was in the chest as well.
Yeah, so there's clearly a lot of fun shit there and places to go. And I like Magdaene Visaggio's work, so I'll definitely be checking this one out.
Yeah, I'm excited we get an expansion on that character. I kind of felt like it was coming anyway.
Yeah, right on. I mean, hey, I might not have liked the Young Justice book, but hey, more power to the character spinning out and doing other things. All right, what else do we got going on here? Okay, so Dark Knight's Death Metal announced 3 brand new one-shots this week, and you're thinking, like, wait, how can they announce more one-shots? We already know it's going till January, and we already have so many books. What the hell could these possibly be? These are undeniably the 5G Generations titles that they've just now decided to plug into death metal. And you can tell, because look at the first one there with Wonder Woman. What's it called? It's called The Secret Origin.
Yeah.
And it's very fucking clearly World War II Wonder Woman hanging out with the original JSA, which was part of the idea for 5G, that they were going to retcon the whole history and say that she was, like, the first hero.
Not only that, but it's being written or co-written by Scott Snyder and Jeff Johns.
Oh, wow.
And again, Jeff Johns, was ushering in 5G at the end of Doomsday Clock, so this makes sense.
And, of course, has basically been shepherding the Justice Society and Stargirl, which, hey, I'm excited for this. I'm going to read the fuck out of this.
Also, I'm excited that Jeff Johns is actually seemingly kind of like just sticking around at DC and doing stuff.
Yeah.
Because, like, after Shazam ended a couple of weeks ago, we were all, like, kind of wondering, like, oh, I guess that's it for him. But guess not.
Yeah. No, I mean, he gets knocked down, but he gets back up again. I mean, I think he's used to this shit at this point. He had his turn at the top running the company. I'm sure he's kept warm by the fact that people still love what he did in Rebirth and would like to see that more. And I'm sure maybe he's thinking, too, if I just stick around and take my licks, maybe they'll put me in charge again. Because, yeah, that's definitely the thing where when Johns was done, it's like, well, he can only go down from here. He ran the company and now he's not anymore. So either he leaves to go work on movies and more television like Stargirl, or does he take a crack at writing for the competition? Who the fuck knows?
Yeah. I think we even theorized that maybe he could go over to Marvel or something. But I guess he just wants to stick around and just, like, write stuff like this. Well, or I guess he has to. I guess maybe he has to stick around because, like, of the stuff he did in Doomsday Clock is still being, like, felt throughout all the books and everything. And maybe it's like a role where he's got to, like, kind of like tick off on it and, like, okay, yeah, that kind of fits in with what we were doing and stuff like that.
Another reason you know that these are all 5G adjacent too is that they're all anthologies that take place in alternate universes. They could happen anywhere in the dark multiverse or the real multiverse. Like, these are half ideas you had or pages you already had done, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think people realize how far 5G was into development. Like, they were finished stories basically and finished art and everything on them.
Oh yeah. The other one we got here is The Last Stories of the DC Universe, which, foreboding name. Again, where do these take place? They could take place anywhere. It's fun. It's cool. Here's the Titans you like and remember, which, again, look much like the Titans they were running with in the Generations artwork, where it's like, look, it's friggin' Cyborg, but he looks the way you remember and everything, and oh, he's on the team, and oh, look, there's Nightwing and everyone. Everyone's together. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, again, playing on that Generations thing, whereas that's like the new generation.
Absolutely. And then the final one we had was what's it?
It was
called?
like
This
the
is the long
52 or something.
the last 52 War of the Multiverse, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Death metal is also a comedy, and so the titles are now purposely long and fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. This one looks pretty interesting because it looks like it's going to be like, from what I haven't counted, but I think it's going to be 52 heroes and villains teaming up to fight, I guess, the Dark Knights or something.
Right. And again, just everyone is on this page right now, and it's just we're fucking throwing everything at it.
Everyone, including a zombie Roy.
Yes, I noticed that too. Everyone's like, "Hey, Joel, Roy's back." I'm like, "That's a zombie. Go away." Don't excite me and then show me that it's just the zombie version. Fuck. Which, again, because DC continuity's kind of in the fucking air right now. Hey, we can do whatever we want. We can tell these stories, and it doesn't matter because we're all but rebooting at the end of January. We're not calling it a reboot. We're not doing new number ones, but it's a goddamn reboot.
Yeah.
like literally, they said in Death Metal, yeah, hey, we're gonna rewrite the entire universe when this is done. That's the main goal.
That's Wonder Woman's mission. Rewrite the entire universe to make sure this never happened.
Which I know people are still going to argue with us and be like, but they didn't say it was, and they didn't call it a crisis. I'm like, but it is, though.
Yeah, it is. Just because crisis isn't initially called a crisis doesn't mean it's not a crisis. This is absolutely a crisis.
That being said, we also got a book called Trinity Crisis, which is all the crises happening at once. All right, so there's that news, and then hey, we're not done with new titles yet because we're also apparently getting more Tales from the Dark Multiverse as
crises.
Well. Yeah, because those were apparently quite popular, and even though we don't know where it's like, is the Dark Multiverse still going to be a thing when this death metal story is done? And also, wasn't Dark Multiverse Didio's idea? And are you still building up to something here, or are these just an excuse to do fun one-shots?
I would have to think the Dark Multiverse will stick around mainly because of it's kind of like a yin and yang sort of situation. Whereas you can't have one without the other.
Quite possibly. The three we got here is Wonder Woman, War of the Gods from 85, I think.
Yeah,
where I'm like, oh wow, it's like, wow, you're going way back for one, and also, hey, a Wonder Woman centric one. That's fun. None of these other ones have been Wonder Woman centric.
Yeah, now we've got a Batman, we've got a Superman, and we've got a Wonder Woman one.
I mean, it's not like they were going to do Dark Multiverse Amazon's Attack, because they're like, oh, no, wait, we want people to forget about that one.
That one was already pretty dark.
That was its own Dark Multiverse already. What happens in this one? The bees, they just keep stinging Batman in his dick over and over again. The bees win. The other one we have is Crisis on Infinite Earths. Again, we basically did all the other crises anyway, so why not go all the way back to the original?
Yeah, and Steve Orlando, I think, is writing this, and I think this might be one of his last books.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, I guess his contract is up soon.
Yeah, I think, because I'm sure I saw a post from him where he says he wasn't going to leave DC without writing Alan Scott.
The strangest one, though, has to be Dark Multiverse, Dark Knight's Metal. Wait, but that just happened, and this one was the one that actually came up with the concept of the Dark Multiverse. What?
Again, I see when this was announced, I'd love if it was kind of like an inverse of it, where it's the Dark Multiverse equivalent to Metal is just it's all happy.
Everything worked out.
Everything's really hopeful and happy and not dark or anything at all. It's a complete opposite.
I look at that title and that just hurts my brain. Where I'm like, you're eating your own fucking tail now. You're officially the Ouroboros, the snake that eats its own tail.
Maybe that's the story, talking about how this event is basically just a rehash of what's happened already, and that's the whole point. Because the Dark Multiverse is a cycle.
Which, again, if you read that if you read that Trinity Crisis book, Snyder has thoughts about the constant state of crises, and he is not shy about basically putting everyone on fucking blast.
Yeah.
Also, too, apparently this one is going to involve Duke. Apparently, evil Duke runs a dark justice
He's a
league.
monitor or something.
Yeah, which again, that was another idea that came up in the original Metal and didn't go nowhere, that he was like the light and the power, and then everyone just fucking forgot.
Yeah, maybe that's how it's... I completely forgot about that he was like a big deal in that. Yeah, maybe I guess that's going to be like the turning point, whereas instead of providing the light, he provides the dark.
Yeah, I guess. Honestly, I'm just like, cool, give Duke something to do and maybe tell the story that didn't get told. But yeah, so there's 3 more dark multiverse books. You just can't get away from that dark multiverse. Things are gonna be dark. There's gonna be lots of dark. We're gonna dark all over the place. Then we had one more story, and again, too, this also relates to what we're saying about the recycling of 5G and Generations and everything else. We are getting a book literally called DC Generations Shattered, which is going to be featuring the return of Golden Age Batman, along with several other old-timey characters, and you can tell they're all from different universes and different timelines.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that this isn't just like Batman is just back in his like old costume. This is literally the Batman we first saw in, was it Detective Comics issue 27?
Yeah. The guy who carried a gun and a platinum police badge and only defended the rich people of Gotham City.
Yeah, so that's going to be very interesting. Again, the team is like quite an interesting bunch of people. We've got like Sinestro, but Sinestro as a Green Lantern.
Very early on in his career.
We got Starfire, who I believe is from the 80s.
Yes,
Teen Titans, because she's got the big hair and
the Wolfman Perez Starfire, the one everyone knows and loves and everyone is trying to recapture, complete with original costume and, as you said, big fucking hair.
Yeah, we got Steel, who I guess would be from the 90s.
Yeah, right out of Death of Superman, Rise of the Superman. I guess arguably when he was the most popular, because he had his own fucking book for a long time.
We got Kamandi, again, who's been like kind of like a staple of DC in recent years. He's been appearing every now and then, like through like Bendis's books and through other stuff throughout the DC universe.
Because again, we're just fucking in love with the apocalypse and going to the end of the world. And if you go to Earth's End, you gotta go meet Kamandi at Earth's End.
Who else was on the team? It was Booster Gold.
Booster Gold.
And was there anyone else?
Booster Gold, who can be from any fucking era. It doesn't matter. Also, there looks to be another woman, but I can't quite make her out because she's in the foreground.
Here, I'll look at the actual picture on my screen. I'm pretty sure it's what's that? Dr. Light.
Oh, Dr. Light, but the woman version, Dr. Hiyoshi,
yeah.
Which again hasn't been in much recent. I've always liked Dr. Light.
Interesting team.
Very much so. As Devin the Grey in the chat says, so DC's answers to Exiles. Yeah, kinda. We grabbed a team from all over the place.
Oh man, now you reminded me of Exiles. That was a great fucking book.
That was a good book. Short-lived, but then again, the original Exiles was also short-lived and a cult hit and everything, so it lived up to its potential.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one looks interesting. This is Jurgens writing this, yes?
I do believe so, yeah. Again, I think he was writing some Generation stuff as well.
He was. Fitting, too, for Jurgens to be writing this, because the dude had a long-ass career in comics, so he's seen many of these things, like when they were brand fucking new.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he was like, even like, I wouldn't say the creator, but like the guy who like wrote some of the first stories, especially for someone like Steel.
Yes. So it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the party on this one. So yeah, there's all the news, everybody. Lots of stuff happened.
Lots of stuff happened not at DC Fandom. This is all stuff that kind of like happened outside of it.
Yeah, this was all like solicitations and shit, if and you can believe it. All right, so what do we got going on there for what we read this week? Do we want to go through this quick? We're almost at an hour 30, but we can't deny the people what we read this week.
Yeah, let's do some comics.
All right, where would you like to begin, Matt?
Well, again, thanks to DC Fandom, I'm going to start on a book that I don't think anyone really fucking had any idea on it because they just dropped it, and that is Milestone Returns, issue 0.
Yeah. They dropped it free, thankfully, I think, along with like a bunch of other books that have been out of circulation and out of print for decades. But yeah, the Dakotaverse lives, and I fucking loved this one.
I loved it as well. Again, they kind of just dropped it. I didn't know it dropped, and I saw like a retweet. I'm like, wait, that fucking dropped? Because I remember when they announced that back in the first part of DC Fandom, and I thought, we're not going to see that till fucking February. But yeah, it kind of dropped don't think people can find it. Again, people are saying
Even
they
though
can't
they
find
give
it
it
on
away for
Comixology.
free.
Yeah, no, but I think, again, like most things at DC Fandom, it was 24 hours only,
working.
and then they take it
Ugh.
away for some fucking reason.
Again, you want people to see this, and you want people to read it if you want this line to do well again, and if you want people to actually get interested. But yeah, it's basically a retelling of some of their biggest origins. We get the retelling of how Icon and Rocket met for the first time.
Yeah, it was great, sort of like modern reimagining of that. We get Raquel sneaking into an old mansion to get a typewriter. And to impress a boy, and she runs into Augustus Freeman, the alien from outer space who's been here 200 years or something.
Yeah, since the time of slavery. In fact,
I
that's
love
why
that very subtle. I don't think a lot of people would have picked that up.
that where it's like, yeah, well, why did he, if he could look like anything, why did he choose to look like a black man in America? Because his ship scanned the first thing he saw was a slave, and that is what he lives as now.
A slave in a cotton field.
Yeah, they haven't quite dealt with it yet, and I wonder if they will, that originally Icon in the comics was like a very prominent black conservative, because it's like, well, Lincoln freed the slaves, and I was a slave once upon a time, so I gotta ride or die with the Republican Party, but like Icon would constantly challenge and prod at him. I wonder if that's still gonna be part of his character.
Maybe. Like, with the current political climate, they could make a really compelling story about that.
They could. The fact that it was as compelling in 93 as it is now. And also, I'm pretty sure Hudlin is involved, and I think Hudlin is also like one of Hollywood's most prominent black conservatives, so I would not be shocked.
He'll write himself as the character, yeah.
He would write himself as it, which is basically how I think they did it back in the day anyway. And I think that's another reason this feels so good and feels so familiar, because it's like, yeah, of course this feels like old Milestone. It's most of the same people, minus Dwayne McDuffie.
Same artist as well, I do believe.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Because I had people complaining, it's like, oh, the book still looks like it's from the 90s. I'm like, so? That's like kind of the point. They regaining that nostalgia that people had for Milestone.
And this was some of the better art in there. It's not like it's fucking Liefeld still trying to do art in 2020.
No.
New redesigned costumes too for everyone.
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, they look good. I miss the green on Icon. I kind of miss the green because it's it's representative of the Pan African flag.
I do like that. He got a redesigned costume, but Rocket really didn't. Like, her costume still kind of looks the same. I guess it's like because it's so simple. It's like a pair of goggles and like a jacket.
Yeah, she's still got the like Gambit head sock thing going on, and we get to see like Icon talk to the UN, which is really interesting. He does the classic alien, do not be afraid of me, and he brings up the concept of love, where it's like, every society I've seen throughout the universe that thrives, they do so because of love, and it is something that is sorely lacking here on Earth. And I can even hear you now scoffing at me for even just mentioning such a thing. And I'm like, man, that's good fucking writing.
Yeah, there was that great panel where he talks about how, like, when people try and bring people love, they're killed for it, and there's like that picture of like Jesus.
Yeah, there's like Black Jesus, and I'm sure they could also have put there like Dr. Martin Luther King or friggin' what is it, John Lennon or Gandhi or any other people. It's like, yeah, any prophet or artist or anything that tells people to love each other not only ends up dead but like murdered. Mostly because of it. Then we get a short little Static story, and they actually update Static's origin. And
like it's really cool because they keep it all the same, but just like update it with like more recent like references. Like events, we have like he gains his powers while at a Black Lives Matter protest.
Yeah. Instead of being browbeaten to take part in a gang war that he wanted no part in, now he actually ends up, fighting for rights and equality alongside his friends, only to get doused by the same experimental tear gas that they were using on the criminals back in 1993. And I'm like, oh man, just by changing one thing, you've actually updated this and managed to say a completely new thing about it.
Yeah, like that's the one thing I really liked about it. I'm like, oh, that one little change modernized it, but you still kept the basis of it. Like, that's good writing right there.
Absolutely. And I know some people were confused by that, and to all those people, I'm like, hey, look up the Philadelphia move bombing of 1985, because that's literally what the Static thing was based on, so it's always been about police aggression, in case you were wondering.
Yeah.
Not to black-splain, but still. What do you think of his new costume? Because his costume got actually quite an overhaul, and Static has had a few costumes before this.
I like it. I like it much more than the one he had, was it in the New 52?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I like it. It's much more subtle than that one.
It's sleek is what it is. It's very sleek. Black and gold is a good combination. I kind of miss the goggles, even though I know goggles can't fly in 2020, and I've talked mad shit about characters with goggles before. He's the one guy I liked with goggles, and he's the one guy I liked when he just wore a baseball hat. Static can get away with it. No one else can get away with it. And also, too, if this thing lasts as long as they want it to, there's probably a good chance that they'll, reinvent their costumes as time goes.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he actually has a different color scheme on the cover. Did you notice that?
I didn't know.
He has the old color scheme, the blue and yellow.
Ooh.
Which is interesting. It makes me wonder, I'm like, was this a late addition to change it, or will he adopt that color scheme later?
Yeah, well, like the costume we saw in the comic was like his current
Proto.
one, whereas we'll see like when we get to see a bit more of his origin, he'll go out in that one, in the one that's on the cover.
They also introduced some new characters who didn't get names. There's like a grim, almost Punisher-esque vigilante who like stalks the street with like creepy blood wings and is also implied by Rocket to be a racist.
Oh, he actually even before Rocket said that, I could tell that he was like racially profiling this African American who was dating a white woman. I'm like, oh, this guy is an evil racist.
Where it's like, yeah, how do you make the Punisher frightening in 2020? What if he's also racist? Fuck. like he still does all the other anti-heroic shit, which is bad on its face, but because you're reading a comic, you're allowed to enjoy it because it's not real. What if we interject a real-ass motherfucking thing in there? Which is really funny because you look at Marvel going out of their way and bending over backwards to being like, Frank Castle is not racist. There is nothing racist about him except for all the racists that keep appropriating the skull.
All the races being white police officers who somehow think that that's cool.
Who love the goddamn skull. So that's interesting. We also get, I think, their attempt at a non-binary hero. I'm not sure. It's a a man and a woman scientist.
Yeah, no, that's actually Zombie. One of my favorite Milestone characters.
Is that their new version of Zombie? Holy shit.
Yeah, it's David and Kelly Kim who develop a nanotechnology that's meant to be able to cure everything. And
interesting.
I think their lab comes under attack and David gets wounded, so Kim uses the nanotechnology on him and it ends up like absorbing her into him.
Okay, see, I will freely admit I only knew Zombie from covers. I never actually read Zombie, but I knew because all the other Milestone books were connected, they'd make reference.
Yeah, and he's very much like a zombie where he has to like eat people to heal and everything, and it's very gross and it's very cool character.
The doctor lady, too, is also wearing a Wonder Woman t-shirt, which is interesting because it's like, ooh, this is really the first of what will be two big references to maybe where this new Dakota-verse takes place in reference to everything else.
Yeah, again, I had lots of people asking, is it in continuity with DC? And the answer is maybe.
I think the answer is wait and see. If it's popular, we'll try, because the next thing is we actually see Dharma, the leader of Shadow Cabinet, who also, if you know your DC history, was basically the guy who opened the door for the Milestone universe into the DC universe. So that's basically them saying, hey, we got this in our back pocket, should you want it?
Yeah, it felt like, and again, just like how he's framed in the picture with like all these people in shots that look like Earths, that look like different Earths. They hint at like, yeah, he'll be the one to sort of maybe bring them over to the DC universe if it's popular.
That seems to be the thing where it's like, if you like this and this is popular, we will. If not, we're not going to devote all the time to put this together. And you know what? I think that's better because Milestone was popular as its own thing on its own for a long time before they eventually brought it over and fused it. Let them build up a new universe with, you know, their own rules and their own ideas and their own major events.
Make it a huge event with like how do it properly, like how that Earth 2 World's End was meant to be like Earth 2 merging with the Earth Prime. Like, do it like that, but properly.
But do it good, exactly. I totally agree. And hey, maybe they're even taking a page from the TV shows before they crisis that, where it's like, no, Static can still cross over and be friends and hang out with DC characters, but he goes back to his own universe when it's done, where, you know, he's a bigger fish in a smaller pond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and every now and then Icon comes over and works with Superman or something.
Because, I mean, you couldn't have, like, a black Superman talking to the UN in a universe where Superman already exists.
That's what was really weird. I'm like, oh, these people know that Superman exists and, like, Martian Manhunter and all that. And, like, so it's not set in that universe? Or maybe it is?
Yeah. Although that would be pretty interesting on its face to have, like, a bunch of guys from the UN be like, Superman, scary black man with powers like yours. Are you going to do something about it? Superman's like, no, Icon's a good dude. What the fuck's your problem? Yeah, but he doesn't look like you, though. Which, literally, that's a big part of the appeal of Icon, where it's like, how would white America react if there was a black man who was as powerful as Superman?
Yeah.
The answer is some people would lose their fucking minds. But yeah, so Milestone returns, super cool. I liked it.
Yeah.
And honestly, too, I'm like, oh, goddamn, I gotta wait till February for more of this. I want to read more of this now.
I know. February. I guess that's probably, again, February, because January we're meant to be getting the big DC relaunch. I guess maybe that's like their relaunch of Milestone. Like, after we've set up this new universe, we'll bring in Milestone.
And we're timing it, too, because Black History Month as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was good shit. What else do we have? Oh, we had the big, well, not finale of Empire, but we had the aftermath of Empire in not one, but two books. I read Avengers and I skimmed through Fantastic Four.
Yeah, well, Fantastic Four was definitely the big one.
Yes, as I saw from the end of that.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about the Avengers one, which was basically like the second wedding of Hulkling and Wiccan.
I'm glad they got a second wedding and all their friends got to come, and like Rocket Raccoon's wearing a little suit. I thought that was very adorable, and that it's what is it? It was a gay Jewish space wedding, and the rabbi's like, well, I never did one of these before, but I hope it's not the last one.
Yeah, all that stuff was really nice, and we got Abigail Brand coming in and kind of throwing her weight around because she didn't get an invite to the big event.
Yeah, which is funny because on one hand it's like, yeah, isn't the whole job of like Alpha Flight and Sword before that to protect from alien invasions? Yeah, Abigail, you really dropped the ball on this one. And she's like, it's only because they didn't tell me.
I found that very funny because at one hand I'm like, yeah, I kind of get like where she's coming from, but then on the other hand I'm like, you're in charge of like detecting these sorts of things with Alpha Flight. You don't just rely on like Carol to just, fucking tweet you when it's going to happen. Like
whenever there's a problem.
Surely you have like a satellite or something keeping an eye on stuff like this.
It's Sue Richards who won the conversation for me, where she's like, well, if we did tell you, Abigail, there's no promising you wouldn't have made all the same mistakes we did. The Kotati were not our enemies. They were friends for years.
Yeah, we didn't know this was going to happen. We did what we could in the short time we had.
Yeah, we were super taken by surprise, too, but Abigail has enough of that, and she's like, screw you guys, I'm going to Krakoa, basically.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. So, like, at the end, it's, like, all through the comic, we're getting, like, backstory with, like, Hulkling's grandmother and how she basically really says that all his friends will betray him and leave him, and he'll be left alone. He'll be like the lone king on his own, and that
because you're too powerful, and Earth always fears the powerful.
Seemingly, that happens, and something happens where like Captain Glory and all his people die, and Hulkling is going to die, and it's not implied that Abigail Brand's behind it because she offers him a role on whatever team she's making. But yeah, the team she's making seems to be Sword. But as well, the logo looks strangely like the X-Men logo. It's not even like it's like a coincidence. Like it looks like the X-Men logo.
And it looks like she has X-Men behind her and everything.
Coming through
too,
a Krakoan portal or something.
Which makes a lot of sense, because I'm like, yes, what is it? The Krull-Skree Empire has changed the balance of power in space, much as Krakoa as a nation is changing the balance of power on Earth, and you can't have two massive superpowers growing at the same time without inevitably war happening.
Yeah, you could tell something was going to happen eventually, and I guess that's like the next big event, and I guess maybe that could be something that was hinted at the end of the Fantastic Four book as well.
It also makes a lot of sense, too, for Krakoa to want to invest in rebuilding S.W.O.R.D., because how many times have they been invaded by aliens in the last couple months?
Oh, yeah, I can imagine they'll probably, if Hickman's involved in it, they could repurpose that, was it the Forge that's near the sun that was building, the Mega Sentinels and all that sort of stuff? Make that like a sword base or something.
It also kind of makes sense, too. What is it? This organization is called S.W.O.R.D. The next event is called 10 of Swords. Wouldn't it be funny if they somehow work that together?
You kind of think they would.
Also, too, Al Ewing, who wrote this, was like in all the X-Men meetings, even though he's not writing an X-Men book. Now it makes sense.
And I think we originally thought because X-Men were involved in this, but then they weren't really that involved in it. So maybe this was it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a cool one. Now you read the Fantastic Four one, and that also had some more stuff going on.
Yeah, again, it picks up not long after the ending of Empire issue 6, and it's just kind of like a wrap up of what's happening on the moon with Sequoia getting captured and the Unseen watching this all unfold as all the heroes come together and sort of reunite after the battle. Sue and Reed meet their kids again, and Joven and Nakala, the Korean Skrull child that were the linchpin in all of this. They end up, by royal decree of Hulkling, getting put in the care of Ben and Alicia. They're basically their children now.
Oh, hot damn, they have kids.
Yeah, and they're more than happy to have that, because there was this weird thing where Nakala was needed to show Alicia something all through the Fantastic Four book, and at the start of this she's like, you need to witness this, and I guess this is what she needed to witness. All the heroes get together. There's a cool moment between Johnny and Peter, because in the Fantastic Four book, Peter learns that Johnny has a soulmate in Skye, who's some alien woman who saw Johnny as her soulmate and is following him around and everything. Right. And they get a really cool moment where Peter kind of confronts him. He's like, "What the fuck, man? You never told me you had a soulmate."
An alien soulmate.
But Johnny is even like, "Well, I don't even know if I do have a soulmate, because she feels like that. I don't know if I should feel like that, because I don't know whether how you're meant to gauge that sort of thing." And there's a great moment where Peter sort of says he was the same with Mary Jane, but he had the best help in that of Aunt May helping him decide.
Right.
What else happens in the book? Thor takes Sequoia to an uncharted planet in an uncharted part of space and dumps him and the surviving Kotati. And
so they can be a problem next time.
Yeah, no, they have no way of getting off the planet. They don't know where the planet is in space, because it's in some random place that I think Franklin Richards just made. But then Thor gives up all his Gaia power to make the planet into a jungle for them to live in.
Oh, well, that explains why he won't be using that Gaia power again anytime soon.
But again, it's why did you cancel that Thor one? It seems to be one of the most important things. You need to sort of talk about why he got this power and all that. What sent him on this journey to get the power and all that sort of stuff.
Well, he gave it up by the end anyway. So
yeah. Obviously, we've got hints at what happened in the Captain Marvel book, which is Carol's sister becomes the Accuser.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, it suits her perfectly, given her story of being an accused. She is now an accuser, which I thought was pretty cool. And then, the ending, all the heroes kind of just say goodbye and go home, and the Unseen continues to watch, and then suddenly, out of Nick Fury pops Uatu, he's alive again. The Watcher is alive again.
Yeah, which is pretty fucking cool, and I was not expecting this. Though
Yeah.
also, they seek to imply that the Kotati were armed with weapons from, like, the first society, and it's like, well, who would know about this? Hey, Owatu, you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, Profiteer, like, the woman from that Fantastic Four one-shot before the event begun, sort of points out that the weapons are from some unknown race that are older than even her race, the Elders of the Universe, and it's the first race, which we don't really know what is.
So that's interesting.
But yeah, the Watcher seeks that something is coming, and it might be them.
Isn't something always coming, Matt?
Something is always coming, but I guess it might be pretty big considering that the Watcher is now back alive because of it.
Yeah. Also, hey, Watcher, you sure took your sweet ass time. Also, what's going to happen with old man Nick Fury now?
Yeah.
Does he get to come back to Earth?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess he's free to go back to Earth now.
And now your watch has ended. I guess there's still no S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore, so maybe Nick Fury can come back to Earth just in time to rebuild S.H.I.E.L.D.
I have a feeling that might be what might be happening. Him and his son might get together.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Man, we've been out without S.H.I.E.L.D. for so long in the comics.
I know, it's so weird, isn't it?
Very. So it's not like you overly missed them or anything, because, like, they keep inventing proxy groups, but still.
Yeah, you kind of miss, like, every now and then, like, a helicarrier from S.H.I.E.L.D. appearing, or, like, a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, like Dum Dum Dugan, Maria Hill, and all that.
I mean, you get Dum Dum Dugan, he's just a villain and outlawed.
Yeah, that's true.
But yes, indeed, it's quintessential Marvel, and I miss it. I had Spider-Man this week, issue number 48. This was actually a pretty big and ultimately pretty divisive issue for people.
I am so behind on that book.
Well, I'll be quick about it. So, Sin Eater is back. Sin Eater is running around killing people, but not really killing them so much as he is stealing their soul, or stealing their sins, and with it, their power.
Yeah, his gun is like a sin-stealing gun now, isn't it?
Yeah. And he's beaten up Peter several times. Peter cannot fight him because he's, like, absorbed the entire Lethal Legion. And his big thing is like, hey, I'm going to do the one thing you could never do, Spider-Man. I'm going to break into Ravencroft Asylum, and I'm going to cleanse Norman Osborn. And so the whole issue actually has Spider-Man, like, fighting his way through the streets of New York, duking it out with Sin Eater's cult, who have completely gone off the reservation now and have forgotten about the whole sin thing, and they're, like, burning down mosques and just being, like, horrible people.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. And Spider-Man's like, Jesus Christ, you guys sure jumped quick from punish the sinful to hurt the people we don't like to just, okay, now we're just full-on doing racist bullshit. And Spider-Man meets up with a bunch of different spider people. Miles is there, Ghost Spider is there, Julia Carpenter, the current Madam Web, and they're like, hey man, you know you don't have to go save Norman, right? You know you don't have to, like, we wouldn't judge you, we wouldn't think any different of you. And Spider-Man's like, are you all for fucking real?
Yeah, we're just gonna just turn our head and, you know.
Yeah. And when we turn back, is fine. It's like, look, he's beaten you up all these other times now. And it's like, it's not like Norman's going to die. I mean, sure, you know, having your sin stolen is immoral and everything, but, you know, like, he's taken so much from you already. And basically the question is will Peter Parker save the life of, like, the worst person he's ever known, essentially?
Yeah, and that story continues in, like, there's, like, a one-shot Norman Osborn, isn't there?
Yeah, it's coming soon.
Yeah.
And of course, the big deal is like, well, obviously Peter is going to save this guy because the entire Peter Parker character is built on one time I didn't do something even when I had the power to, and my uncle ended up getting killed because of it. And weirdly, this story has become controversial because people are yelling at me in the comment section, be like, he should have let Norman die. I'm like, but literally Spider-Man saves everybody. That's the whole point.
That's like his whole like story.
Yeah. And one guy was getting particularly perturbed. It's like, well, you don't care when the Punisher does things like that. I'm like, yeah, well, he's the Punisher, though. This is the Sin Eater, a literal serial killer cop who has been brought back from hell by someone named Kindred. So, you know, you see how these things are different? No? Okay. Well, just checking. But yeah, it was cool. I liked it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fun story.
Well, I had Superman issue 25, which was the big beginning of the Sinmar arc. And the cover and solicitations don't reveal what the book is, and the book is fucking great.
That's good.
So Sinmar isn't a person, it's a planet.
Oh.
It's a planet full of people who are a peaceful race. They've like wiped out like crime and war and everything. They still have to protect themselves from stuff like Thanagar and Oa, who try to instill their will over them. But the book starts off with them learning of Krypton's destruction, because they live a couple of systems over, and they find out the planet explodes, and they're kind of worried that like there might be repercussions because planets just don't explode.
Yeah.
And they're like kind of worried for their planet, but they notice that there was a lone craft that left the planet, and they track it, and they find out that it's going to Earth, and they're wondering why it's heading to such a primitive world. And they learn that it's because, well, they theorize that it's because when a Kryptonian goes to a planet that is in a yellow sun system, they get powers. So they think that maybe someone on Krypton sent this child there because they want this child to rule Earth.
Interesting.
And while they
Dragon Ball Z.
While they're not doing anything yet, because it's actually really quite cool. Some of them want to go and like pick up the child before this happens, but others are like, no, we can't like kill this child now because the child has not made a choice yet. We don't know if the child will rule the Earth. We have to wait and see. But in the decades that it takes for Clark to grow up, they've been preparing just in case that something happens. So we're intercut with them deciding, well, if they have a superpowered being, we should create our own superpowered being as sort of a contingency. We get to see Clark sort of like growing up, and it's kind of great because it's all like points in Clark's life where if he was any lesser of a man, he would have just snapped, and that would have been the moment that he became like Ultraman or something.
Right.
There's a great moment where he's in school and he asks Lana to dance, and Lana friend zones him hard. And again, it's meant to be like a moment where like at any other point someone with superpowers would have just like made her love him, and but because it's Clark Kent, he doesn't do that. We get to see what happens on Sinmar, whereas they've sort of made their own sort of version of Superman, which is like they've put all of their power into this one being, but they haven't told him exactly why he's been created, and they never.
Oh, that won't bite them in the ass.
Yeah, no, he keeps asking like, why, like, what is my purpose? And they keep like dodging the question and like showering him with praise and whatnot. Clark, meanwhile, is interviewed by a older Lana who is interviewing him because he revealed his identity, and he decided to go to a different paper than the Planet, so it's unbiased.
That makes sense, actually.
And because the Daily Planet is currently being investigated by the FBI.
Oops.
But yeah, they end up talking, and it's actually quite cool. They actually end up reliving a memory from when Lana was Superwoman. And it's a great callback to like when they saved a cruise ship together, and Lana says,
"What an odd piece of canon for Bendis to bring in a guy who seems like he doesn't read anything. He read that.
This book is just filled with that sort of stuff." And Lana says that when she saved that cruise ship with Clark, that's the point she realized this life wasn't for her, and she wanted to leave it to people whose life was dedicated to that, like Clark's. And she has a really cool moment where, because she doesn't have powers anymore, because her powers went into making that Superman Reborn Superman. She has a really cool moment where she says her powers, she still feels the powers, and it's like a phantom limb, and she compares it to like those dreams you have where you're falling in your sleep but then you jolt awake and you're in bed. And she doesn't miss it, but she kind of misses it a little bit, and it's kind of hinted at she might get them back, maybe not.
Interesting.
But yeah, the book ends with the Sinmar Superman sort of dealing with the fact that no one's telling him what's happening. He's feeling regret because he has a great line where his friend who's named Galana talks about how, oh, everyone has regrets, it's fine. And it's like, he's like, no, you don't understand. I'm a living weapon. My regrets have bigger consequences. And he gets called up to like a citadel where everyone has been killed. And we don't know who killed them or why, but there's like holograms of Superman. and it seeks to imply that this
He's
being
getting framed.
thinks that Superman did this. Because he doesn't know who the
Right.
Superman is, he just knows he's been created to stop something. And he thinks
That
that's
actually
the Superman.
does sound creative.
Yeah, it's very fucking cool. Very fucking
Yeah,
cool.
wow. Is that the most creative thing Bendis has done so far? Because that actually sounds like a creative story.
Again, it sounds like he sounds like this is what he wanted his Rogolzar to be.
Yeah, that's really, 100%. This sounds like a better version of Rogolzar.
Yeah, like Rogolzar was like a test run or something.
Right, to eventually get to this.
Yeah.
God damn, if Rogolzar actually killed those people and that's why.
I don't think it. I think it's going to end up being something like, because in the book there was like a general who was like, "Oh, we've got to kill the baby. We've got to kill the baby." I think it's going to end up being him because he was like full gung ho on it, and this is probably something to like force their hand.
Right, it's the old frame job.
Yeah.
I'll lightning round a couple of these here because we've had a long show and these are actually pretty thin. Ultimately, I had Web of Venom, the big Wraith one shot.
Is that like required reading for like the upcoming stuff?
King in Black, probably not. Actually, I would say this is probably the thinnest Web of Venom book they've done.
Oh, really?
Turns out the parasite that gives Wraith his power was actually like a prototype symbiote that Null threw away. And Wraith has to deal with the fact that he is literally a garbage person. The only somewhat worthwhile thing is that when he's out in space, he sees like this big, unstoppable holy light that is basically revealed to be Null's polar opposite in the universe.
Okay.
Because Null is a creature of the abyss and pure darkness, this thing is pure light, and it too is also coming to Earth, and the problem is that Wraith is unsure, and he's sure to try and talk to Eddie Brock about this. He doesn't know if the light is good or evil, and that if it's going to come to Earth and be a bigger problem than Null.
Hey, well, what if it's like reversed and Null ends up being the good guy in this event, and like the light ends up being the big bad?
That'd be fucking hilarious. Null is good and the light is bad.
Hey, that's something Donny Cates would do.
It totally would be, and like the light has a symbol too, that because like Null's is a spiral, this one is like a bunch of circles but not together, but they're like apart but together.
Okay.
So it'll probably be important later, but like ultimately no, this was a pretty thin one. Magnificent Miss Marvel number 14, the continued outlawed storyline, probably the hardest hit by the virus. That it had one issue and then 2 months of nothing.
It's still going.
Yeah, it's still, it hasn't even gotten started yet, and it's still going. So Kamala's basically in a coma, and she has like one of those episodes of like, oh, I must, survive my worst fear.
Oh, okay then.
And, her family debates the young superhero controversy, which is interesting because they have basically the inverse of the conversation that Miles' parents have in his book when they do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And in the end, Kamala wakes up and she says, no, the problem with this is that I was on a team. I can't be a member of any teams anymore. I have to go this alone to, right the wrongs of this evil politician and get Kamala's law reversed, which is, of course, hilarious because we know that, like, there's going to be a new Champions book during all of this. So it's like, oh, yeah, no more teams for you right now.
Yeah, until you do go on a team.
Until you eventually do, and it's like, yes, we've seen this story 100 times. Something bad happens to a hero, and so they clam up, and they're like, oh, I can't hurt anyone else, but I bet by the end of this, you'll learn that friendship was the real power all along. And it's older than dirt, but it's like, Ms. Marvel is a new character, so this is like literally the first time she's going through one of these dilemmas. That's why she needs to call up Spider-Man or Iron Man and be like, girl, we do this all the fucking time.
Yeah.
You're going to want to push people away, but the trick is don't. And I had one more big one after this, and that was X-Force.
Oh, nice.
Did you read this one yet?
I haven't read this one yet, no.
We're talking about Bastard Beast, and oh my god, Bastard Beast is at his bastardy best in this one.
That's why I thought I said in my review for the Empire X-Men book, which he was in, I swear that was like a different beast.
Yeah, really.
Because it was like
piece of
night
shit.
and day. Like he was happy, and I'm more than happy to work with these old women horticulture. Whereas like Beast in here is like waterboarding people and like human testing on like whole nations and shit. And,
oh yeah. Yeah, he basically does that here too. So in the last issue, Krakoa got robbed and they stole the Cerebro sword.
Oh no.
Yeah, and which again, X of Swords is coming out. You got to keep all your swords in one place.
Yeah, the tie-ins actually start this week.
Oh, right on. So the dude who did it was Mikhail Rasputin, aka Colossus and Magic's older brother.
Okay.
He's also the guy who's been running Zeno, that anti-mutant group.
Oh, really?
Yes, and if you think it's silly, well, wait, why does a mutant run a group of anti-mutant bigots? Well, they talk about that. Where Mikhail's like, look, you racist, you're so one-minded. I know. You're more worried about what mutants might do and that they might replace you. Really, though, you should be scared about Krakoa as a nation and an idea, and this is why you need to put your mutant racism aside and do what I tell you. And it's very funny, and because, everyone knows Mikhail is involved because he literally signs his fucking work in Krakoa, I stole your shit, losers. Beast is like, okay, so he couldn't have done this on his own. There must be a mole inside Krakoa. Let's intern every mutant of Russian descent.
Oh, that's worked so well in, like, the history of the world.
Yeah, it's like, Jesus Christ, Hank McCoy, for a smart man, you have zero historical reference. And, like, the first couple are easy because it's like, hey, Omega Red, you're an asshole anyway. And you've, like, literally worked with Mikhail in the past. So, like, yep, we're arresting you. Hey, Colossus, we know you kind of have a love-hate with X-Force right now and you're trying to walk away. But, like, can we put these handcuffs on you right now? And, like, he goes willingly. It's like, okay, fine, look, just don't mess up my farm. Just, my girlfriend's going to pick a fight with you. I'll go with you. And as they're walking through the portal, it's like, oh, Pietro, I'm sorry. I'm actually trying out, like a new protocol now to deal with traitorous mutants that I myself, Beast, have put together. And, like, Xavier hasn't even really signed off on it yet. It's basically the shame scene from Game of Thrones. We're going to march you through the streets of Krakoa and mutants will shame you. And at this point, Wolverine loses it, and he actually punches Beast in the stomach.
Oh, fucking about time.
And the rest of X-Force are like, are you for fucking real? This guy was on our team like a week ago, and now you're Cersei Lannistering him?
Finally, everyone is seeing what, like, Jean saw a couple of issues ago.
Well, and that's the best part, too, where Beast ultimately will get his way, and they'll have to probe Colossus's mind to see what he knows, but Wolverine talks Jean into coming back to run it.
Oh, nice. That's good.
But yeah, this is a very fun story. I'm like, man, before I didn't like it when Beast was acting terrible, when that wasn't the point, but now it is the point. Now he's one of my favorite assholes.
Yeah, he's had, like, a really cool character development over the last couple of issues of, like, Hickman and, like, what Benjamin Percy's doing in X-Force. It's really cool.
Yeah, now he's the best Beast. He's living up to all the bad parts of the word Beast. But yeah, it's pretty fun. And yeah, that was everything I had this week.
Cool. I had two more books.
Right on.
First one being Trinity Crisis, issue 1.
Oh yeah, I guess that came out Tuesday, didn't that?
Yeah. The big required reading death metal tie-in. I think all these tie-ins will be required reading.
Yeah, like, I don't know why they called this, like, a tie-in or, like, a special issue. No, this literally takes place where issue 3 left off.
Yeah. The heroes are all gathered together. They're getting ready to go on their big mission. Wonder Woman separates them up into, like, their little teams, with her and the Trinity and Harley and Jonah and Swamp Thing going off into the Castle Bat to get into the portal that's in under the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, they end up fighting a bunch of the Dark Knights who are actually really cool. Like,
yeah, some are cool and some are purposefully silly.
Yeah, like Ark. He's just Scarecrow.
Well, all of Arkham in one person, apparently.
Yeah, we've got the Pearl, who isn't a Batman, who's Martha Kent.
Yeah,
Martha
that was
Wayne,
fun.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
Martha, literally weaponizing Martha.
Who was the other one? Cull, who's Wonder Woman, and Bruce's daughter, which is really strange because she's got ginger hair, and neither of them have ginger hair. It's like, what happened there? Where'd you get that from?
She dyes it.
Yeah, they end up fighting that, and Swamp Thing ends up becoming the last Swamp Thing, which is basically he's the green incarnate.
He literally looks like Swamp Thing from Scott Snyder's run when he had wings and horns, and I'm like, oh, we haven't seen that design in so long, and then I'm like, oh yeah, well, he's referencing himself, naturally.
Yeah, he becomes the final Swamp Thing to allow the heroes into the depths of Castle Bat, well, Harley and Jonah, who completely know that they are expendable. They have
a great moment.
Hold the line there against, was it the Robin King?
I love the Harley Quinn bit because she's like, I don't get invited to big events like this, so I don't know the rules. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. You don't.
And I love Jonah just like is very, very like curt with her. Is like, look, you don't get invited to these events, but like you're basically like expendable, as am I.
Yeah.
Like you're just here just to like keep someone busy while the big guys like move in.
Again, talk about metatext, and then it gets even more metatextual when they find Barbatos, the villain of the original death metal, who has now fallen so far, and even that's part of the joke, too, where it's like, didn't the Batman Who Laughs used to work for you?
Yeah, and now this guy's the bitch of the Batman Who Laughs, and I love how, like, I love his, like, monologue. I was like, I'm not the one who did this, you guys did this, because you're heroes, and you fail everyone, and Superman just, like, fucking knocks him out, and just, like, got sick of what he was saying.
Barbatos basically says crises don't happen on their own. They happen as a direct result of people losing faith in their heroes, and their universe is losing hope. So basically, Scott Snyder is saying all your favorite comic books keep rebooting over and over again because writers keep, driving those characters into the ground over and over again, and they need a refresh.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. And then, Superman knocks him out and doesn't want to hear a word of it.
Yeah. Which was very funny. Again, this book is a comedy, everyone.
Yeah, I'm still getting people who don't seem to realize that this is just schlock, and it's meant to be taken as schlock. It's meant to be a fun ride through the fucking multiverse.
It is a Silver Age story dressed up like a grim and gritty 90s story.
Yeah, and it works so fucking perfectly.
It does.
So they end up making it to the portal, and they use the Alfred boxes.
That's fun.
To traverse this portal, and they have to think about the crises that happened, and each of the heroes get dumped at a certain crisis. We get Batman dumped at Crisis on Infinite Earths, Superman at Final Crisis, and Wonder Woman at Identity Crisis.
No.
Infinite Crisis. Infinite Crisis.
Yeah, that was the one with Superboy Prime. It's hard to fucking keep them straight.
But the thing is that they all these crises, which were meant to be the original ones, they're all a little bit different because he's Batman, the Batman Who Laughs knew this would happen, and he gathered up the original villains of those stories, so Darkseid, Superboy Prime, and the Anti-Monitor, and sent them back in time to these events with some upgrades so that they would win them. I had to tell people that they were all these original characters. So that's the original Darkseid, the original Superboy Prime, and the original Anti-Monitor. The original Anti-Monitor, who looks surprisingly like Hawkman and Martian Manhunter's son.
Looking like a gray Martian. Isn't that interesting? And before I'm like, hey, that doesn't make sense. And it's like, no, wait, we actually know now because he's Perpetua's kid and everything. And she created all the yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, Darkseid is like a Superman Darkseid now. I'm guessing he took like the wishing machine and like turned it on its head.
He looks a little bit like Doomsday. Like he's infected with like the Doomsday virus or something.
Yeah. So again, this was very important reading, everyone. I hope you didn't skip it because you thought it was just an unnecessary tie-in. No, this is literally the next part of the story.
And I guess we also know that Jeff Johns' Scott Snyder book is going to be dealing with Superboy Prime, so I'm guessing it's going to detail the story of how he got from the Justice League at the end of Shazam issue 14 to where he is now.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. It was a good issue. I really loved it.
I enjoyed it too. It was very over the top.
Yeah, very over the top that people still don't seem to understand.
Yeah, that this is supposed to be silly.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. They literally put Jar in a brand new jar.
Yeah, they make him a jar.
What was the last one you had there, Matt?
The last one I had was The Flash, issue 761, the penultimate issue to the Finish Line story and to Joshua Williamson's 101 issue run.
Hot damn. I've been hearing lots of things about this one.
Oh, this was a big issue. So yeah, the Flash family fights the Legion of Zoom. They're all fighting through the city. The Flashes realize that the Reverse Flash never brought any speedsters on his team, which they find strange. So they decide to look into that a little bit. Max Mercury gains the ability to call any speedster from the multiverse to them through the Speed Force because of their connection as the Flash family. So he ends up calling the Earth 2 Flash.
Nice.
Ire, Jai, all these characters you know and love all come all because they are connected via the Flash family in some way. They all come to help and even the odds a little bit. And they learn that the Eobard couldn't bring any Flashes because all of the villains there are brought to that Earth via a different sound frequency. They're not on the same sound frequency and are grounded by the Reverse Flash. And Impulse, because last issue Impulse fought the Tornado Twins and ended up freeing his parents from Eobard's grasp when he touched them, because he reset them basically to their timelines. Right. And they learned that if they run at a certain frequency and create a shockwave, they'll reverse all the villains and return them to the timelines. So they end up doing that and winning the day, and they all just suddenly realize, like, hey, where's Barry? And Barry and Reverse Flash end up running into the time stream, so Reverse Flash isn't affected by this. But what we learn from Reverse Flash is that this was all part of his plan. And again, this book leans so hard on that "it was me, Barry" meme. So much so that we learn that the Reverse Flash uses the negative Speed Force to speak at a hypnotic frequency that has basically been the one behind every bad thing that DC has done in the last couple of years. He coaxed it's kind of implied that he coaxed Robin into starting that gulag and for Kid Flash not to say anything.
Amazing.
He coaxed Wally West into murdering everyone in Heroes in Crisis. He told Barry not to tell anyone about his and Batman's button investigation, as well as Barry to leave his family and get into fights with Flash and all that, basically just to keep them busy so he could enact this plan of gathering all the villains and everything. He turned Hunter Zolomon into Zoom by having his framing that clown, having him shot and everything. He turned Godspeed into Godspeed by having August's brother murdered and Black Hole framed.
Going all the way back to the first arc.
Yeah, we can tie it all back in. And again, it was me, Barry. It was literally that fucking meme, and I fucking love it. Love it.
So what we're saying is that Eobard Thawne is the greatest villain in all of DC Comics. All your misery is tied back to him. It was me, Austin. It was me all along. Even my family didn't know. Oh, god damn it.
Yeah, and I said in my review, if this had happened in any other book, I would call bullshit on it. But because it happened in a Flash book and it's related to Speed Force hijinks, it makes sense.
And also, no one is talking about this, even though they should be.
Oh yeah, they absolutely should be talking about. Again, it's the Flash book. No one talks about it, yet it does all this big shit.
That's funny. That's really fucking funny.
Yeah. Oh, and Wally turns up for a brief moment and sort of saves the Flash, and because of it, Eobard's this isn't how it's meant to end. What is this? I need to find out what this is. So he disappears into the time stream to go and find Wally.
Well, now this I definitely have to read now if you're telling me this actively tries to fix other stories that were bad.
It does. It's such an arsehole, but at the same time, you're that would happen. That would absolutely happen, and I love it.
I'll take this asshole. Did they try and explain away Tom King's Batman at all? Was he telling Bane and Thomas Wayne to do dumb shit?
Yeah. Hit your son, Batman. Hit Tim.
Yeah. Let's just say that now. Let's go back and say he was also. He's sitting there. He's eating a banana. Yeah, I hit Tim. Yeah, I hit Gordon too. Or I don't know. Also, don't care when your son goes in and gets Alfred killed. But no. That's what I want. Just superimpose, Reverse Flash into the background of all of the Tom King scenes. Whenever anything didn't make sense, it was just him.
Yeah, this thing in the background making scary helicopter noises.
Yeah, really. I mean, this is just too fucking funny. Well, hey, if you messed with the button investigation, so we can say ever since then, that's where it all went downhill.
Yeah, Batman was he got residual effects on it or something,
Absolutely.
Because that was about around the time it started going to shit, just after that arc.
It did.
Yeah.
It absolutely did. Friggin' Reverse Flash is in the car with a Catwoman and her friend. Don't marry him. You shouldn't marry him. Nope. He's a bad man. Very bad man. Cracks a beer and goes glug, 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 very bad man. You barred out. God, this has got to be the new thing now. Whenever anything bad happens, the Reverse Flash did it.
Hey, it works. It works.
Actually, as the chat brings up, that was Flashpoint Batman doing all that dumb shit, and Reverse Flash did actually save him from the destruction of the Flashpoint universe in the new retcon. So yeah, it was all his fault.
Yeah. Again, it all comes back to Reverse Flash.
Kill your son, Thomas. Glug, glug, glug. Why would I do that? Team up with Bane? I don't even know who that is. Team up with Bane. Well, I guess I have to.
Yeah, I'll just go find who this Bane fella is.
But I don't know who that is. This isn't my Earth. Fucking do it. That's good shit. So that's it. That's everything from this week.
That's everything.
All right, everyone. We had a fucking jam-packed show this week. We talked for over 2 hours. You cannot say you got shortchanged this week. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We're so glad that you spent your Sunday night with us here. I know things are changing now. Some people are going back to school. Some places. Some people aren't. Some people are doing online classes.
Yeah, well, no matter what you do, remember, wear your mask, wash your ass.
Yeah, wash your ass. If you take nothing away from this show, is that, oh no, or maybe they won't because Reverse Flash is whispering in theirs, don't wash your ass. It's all him. It's all. This was also part of my time travel plan to get the whole world to not wash their ass.
Yeah, use explosives on your gender reveal.
There you go. There it is. Friggin' burn down the forest because why not? But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. As always, if you're a patron, you'll get to listen to this first before anyone else. For as little as $1 a month, it's always very appreciated. Goes towards keeping the lights on here, paying Matt for all the good work he does running the show and making it look nice and everything. For everyone else, you can find this Wednesday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So always check that out. And yeah, that'll just about do it for us, everyone. Thank you so much. We will see you all next time.
See you, everyone.